Months ago, Newcastle felt the agony of a preliminary final penalty shootout lost to Adelaide. This time around, the Jets are on their home turf. Desperate to join football's elite, they'll be roared on by an army of Novocastrians, soaked in golden love for their team. Hello and welcome to Energy Australia Stadium for the preliminary final between Newcastle and Queensland. Well, this is a game between two teams coming from very different emotional places. Newcastle's failure in Gosford last week has cut very deep and is in complete contrast to Queensland's experience in Brisbane, where their victory over Sydney, the first of the season, was executed with real aplomb. Well, the extent to which both coaches have been able to restore their teams will go a long way to determining the victor, for whom a double prize awaits: a place in next week's grand final and a spot in the AFC Champions League. Well, joining me this evening, as always, Mike Cockrell, who'll be calling the action. Mike, huge stakes for which both teams are playing. You've mixed with both sets of players just before we've come on air, before the kick-off. How do you sense the body language? Which team is more up for this?
I think the pressure's on the home team, Newcastle. Obviously, they want to bounce back from a demoralising defeat in Gosford last week. Let's not forget, this is the team which lost the minor premiership on goal difference. This is a team which missed out on the grand final last year on a penalty shootout. Those sort of thoughts will be going through their minds, and they are the youngest team in the competition, so it's a lot to ask them to bounce back so quickly. Queensland, on the other hand, the players, to me, look calm, they look relaxed. That's the benefit of having people like Craig Moore and Danny Tiato, Josh McLaughlin, Andy Packer. So much experience in this Queensland team. The Queensland team of the past years might have fallen over against Sydney FC last week. They didn't panic, and I think they're in a good frame of mind going into this one.
All right, well, there's been a little bit of late speculation about the makeup of both teams. For all that official team news, let's cross to the sideline, where it's a very good evening to Melanie McLaughlin.
Yes, good evening, guys. It's a beautiful day here in Newcastle. As you can see, a bit of a breeze just for when I do the cross to you. There has been some overnight rain, which has softened up the pitch, so the pitch is in great condition ahead of the game today. Let's have a look at the team news now. We'll start with Newcastle, and Gary Van Egmont's made a couple of changes after last week's 3-0 loss to the Central Coast. The coach says for tactical reasons he's brought Stuart Michalek back into the starting lineup for Noel Spencer, who moves to the bench. Adam Depuzzo will also start, and the young Korean Song moves to the bench. They'll have their star striker Joel Griffiths up front, of course, hoping to find the net again against the Raw. Looking at Queensland now, and Frank Farina says he doesn't want to tinker with the starting lineup from last week, which won against Sydney 2-0, so it's an unchanged lineup for them. Danny Tiato is on the bench, and Reinaldo is fit and will also start today. Plenty of Jet support today, guys. Of course, there are some Raw fans that have made the trip from up north as well. Both fans desperate to cheer their teams on to their first grand final appearance.
Thanks very much, Mel. Enjoy the action from the sideline. Well, there's some news because Stuart Michalek, much talked about his exclusion last week, Mike. He was one of the names that was mentioned on the sideline before the teams went into the dressing room about being in doubt for this evening's match. A surprise he's been included? Yeah,
well, the news on Michalek and North is they both had a virus going into this game, and we know, of course, Stewie Michalek's history this season. There's all sorts of problems with his energy levels. So in that sense, it is a risk, although it's a beautiful evening here in Newcastle. It's not too hot, so he should be able to get through the 90 minutes. The other change made by Gary Van Egmont is, to me, the most interesting one. Adam Depuzzo, who hasn't seen a lot of first-team football in the last couple of months. He's been drafted in as a left-back, we believe. Matt Thompson will push into midfield, and that's about trying to combat Robbie Cruz. Well, good luck.
Yeah, good luck indeed. Well, the other side of the equation, I guess, in the surprise stakes, not so much that Frank Farina hasn't tinkered with his winning formation, but that Danny Tiato, so much big game experience, club and international, and Marcinho, the man on screen, has held his place. What do you make of all that?
Well, that was the selection decision for Frank Farina, wasn't it? Marcinho or Danny Tiato. I think Marcinho had maybe his best game of the season against Sydney FC last week. He deserves to keep his spot. Maybe Danny's got to serve a bit more penance. He did let the team down in that last game of the regular season in Adelaide. It was a rush of blood to the head. He'll have to work his way back into the side. Of course, there are only 2 games maximum remaining for Queensland. But I think it's the right thing. It's not surprising. Frank's never been one to change a winning team, and he's not going to start now.
Well, nor should he, I guess. They've got everything to play for, Queensland. There's not been a lot between the two teams this year. In fact, only 1 goal has separated Newcastle and Queensland in the 3rd season of the Hyundai A-League.
It's a fixture which has never failed to produce a goal. Let's hope we're in for more of the same here this afternoon. Marcinho, very, very close. Bridge, delightful cross. No one attacked the ball for Newcastle, but Mackay did for Queensland. They have the advantage here. Simon Lynch cuts inside. Still going is Lynch. Reinaldo, surely. Reinaldo opens the scoring. The Raw take the lead. Denny. Griffiths. Down he goes. Free kick. In fighting position. Griffiths. Joel Griffiths has found the top corner. Newcastle back on level terms. Simply brilliant.
This is Michael Zullo making a very impressive run though. Little 1-2 perhaps. And then it's in. Queensland Raw have scored within 37 seconds. Absolutely unbelievable. Oh, great save by Liam Reddy. Oh, beautifully done by Troy Hill. Was he brought down by Zullo? Mark Shield says yes, it's a penalty. It's a goal for Joel, and it's one apiece. Cruz, nobody picked him up. Beautiful control. Was he tripped by Labour? Penalty. It's Craig Moore for the chance for his first A-League goal. Oh, it's saved. Ante Kovic keeps the scoreline level at one apiece. Good little dummy. 1-2. This is a real chance. Was he brought down by Adam Griffiths? Yes, says Peter Green. Penalty for the Raw. Saved! What an awful penalty by Simon Lynch. Good centre to Joel Griffiths! Oh, that could have won it for the Jets!
Well, it's nip and tuck between these two teams. 9 times they've played each other, 4 wins to Newcastle, 3 to Queensland, 2 draws. What that graphic doesn't tell us is that neither of these teams has been able to defend their home patch. Well, we'll find out very soon if that's going to be an omen for Newcastle or Queensland. Kick-off is about half an hour away here at the Energy Australia Stadium. It's time for a break. And as we go, we caught up with both sets of fans to see what they were expecting tonight. We're back soon.
Newcastle Jets. Troy Hill and Tarek are the greatest players to ever grace the earth.
Mate, Newcastle's going to win all the way. We got the better side. Queensland has absolutely nothing. We got the best back row, front, middle, Cooper of the world, Kovic, #1, baby. We're going to win it for sure.
Oh, Queensland 2-1, mate. With Tiato coming back way too good in the centre, and we've got way too much speed for the back line. Newcastle, we're going to kill it, man. We're going to kill it.
Ronaldo's main threat for us anyway. The height, because we're so short at the back, but North will keep him out. We'll score up the other end with Gripper.
Definitely going to be the Raw because we've got the experience with Craig Moore and Danny on the field, and with the young guys with Zerlo and Cruz, we should take it out no problem.
The Jets, because we've got Joel Griffiths.
Queensland, I feel like a great team. They're young, they're inexperienced, but at the same time they're great players. So it could work, against them in a way, but it also could work for them.
Again, introduce some kids, and the one thing they have are legs and enthusiasm, the young ones, and Cruz and Zula have done very well. Another one in Taj Minakane coming through, obviously. Mandoka Mackay, who are not older statesmen by any stretch of the imagination, and they've done extremely well. And Frankie was at one stage playing with a 4-4-2 and changed it with the 3 up front, and became really effective for him. And hats off to him, because that's what he needed to do. He took the punt on the kids, and it paid dividends for him.
Gary and Joel's thoughts on their opponents tonight, the Queensland Raw. In fact, interesting this week, Gary Van Egmond has been in a mad scramble to try and assume the underdog tag. Wonder how he's going to go. Here he is with Mel McLaughlin.
Gary, you've made a couple of changes ahead of the game today.
Yeah, no, we've brought Adam Depuzo in at left back and pushed Matty Thompson a little bit higher up the pitch, and Stu Michalik for Noel Spencer. So just the tactical side of things, just the fact that we recognise that Queensland are quite mobile in certain areas, and just feel it's going to be more effective this way.
Now, what about last week? Obviously, have you guys recovered, and do you think it might have been the loss you may have had to have, better that it happened last week than this week?
Yeah, look, I think still it was one which you've still got to take your opportunities when they're given to you, but it might have been the kick in the backside that we need and a dose of reality. So we'll soon find out with the game. We've got everything to play for. Motivation now. We know exactly what we're playing for, a spot in the grand final and the Asian Champions League. So game on.
And obviously the two best defensive teams in the league coming up against each other, so it should be pretty interesting.
Yeah, look, it's one which, both teams have obviously prided themselves on the defence this year, and it's going to be a difficult one to unlock both sets of defence, but we're quietly confident that we can do that, and with the mobility that we have in our front third, we think we can cause them some headaches.
All right, thanks a lot, Gary.
Thanks a lot.
Well, those aren't the eyes of an underdog. Gary Van Egmond, we talked about the players and their state, emotional state, psychological state after last week. What about Van Egmond as a coach? How did he cope with it?
He's had a great season, Gary Van Egmond. A tough season. We know all about the problems he had losing great players in the off-season. The Jardel situation has dogged him from day one. I think he's handled it splendidly. I think he's done well in motivating the senior players and at the same time bringing young players through. And he did make plenty of points about there's a lot of youth in this Newcastle side. He's building for the future as well. He's almost doing three jobs at once, handling the old players, bringing through the young players, and with one eye on to recruiting for next season. And I think in all those things, he's done a pretty good job.
Well, of course, he cut his teeth as a youth coach, and here are his baby Jets as they've become known. Ante Kovic, the elder statesman, at 32, and then Adam Griffiths and Joel Griffiths, the twins, on 28. Jade North with good experience despite his relatively young years at 26, and captain Durante, 25. And look at the rest of the makeup. Ollie Roos and young players coming through. James Holland, the last of them, his first season in the A-League. Van Egmond, as a youth coach by trade, has that worked in transition to the senior job?
Yes, it does. It's important in this competition. You bring your young players through. We know about the salary cap, so you've got to have good players at the bottom end of your pay scale. What that stat didn't show as well is that his last two signings, Song Jin Hyung, who's 20, Ben Kantarovsky, who's 16. So, they're looking at youth. Ruben Zatkovic also rumoured to be on his way to this club. So it's all about the future for Gary Van Egmond. You're right, he's building a dynasty here, or he's hoping he's going to build a dynasty. And Newcastle are the only team who've been in their finals for 3 seasons in a row, apart from Sydney FC. So it's worked. Well,
it's a young man's game, football, with some doses of experience. That could well be a key tonight. The talk north of the border about Queensland's Department of Youth under Frank Farina. He's with Mel McLaughlin now.
Frank, you've named an unchanged lineup, so Danny Tiato is going to start from the bench.
Yeah, Danny will start on the bench. I thought the players have done well in the 2 ties against Sydney, and there's no real need for a change. We had a good win last week, and hopefully they'll do the job. But at some stage, Danny most probably will take part.
Now, it's no secret you've got a great defensive lineup. You guys will certainly have your hands full, though, especially with Joel Griffiths.
Yeah, Joel's had a wonderful season. Top goal scorer, most probably will win Player of the Year. Just hopefully might be off his game tonight.
And how's the preparation gone this week?
No, wonderful. It's been a good preparation, steady, no sign of nerves, and we've got everyone fit, which is a good thing coming to this particular game.
And you're still not the underdogs, right?
Oh, I'd say we're the underdogs. Our record against Newcastle this year most probably hasn't been the best. 2 draws and a loss, and they're playing at home, so I don't think they could really claim to be the underdogs.
All right, thanks a lot, Frank.
Thank you.
Frank Farina there with Mel McLaughlin. We're going to go to a break. As we go, we're going to catch up with Joel Griffiths. Everyone talks about the impact of Joel Griffiths with this Newcastle team, but the man himself refuses to believe it's a one-man effort.
Thompson, past Tyler Simpson, and again, decent ball in, Joel Griffiths, easy as you like.
We're definitely not a one-man team, because I wouldn't have scored that goal if Matt Thompson didn't put it on a plate for me. So, little things like that, sort of like make our team stronger. And it's a good thing, because we've got a pretty tight unit up there in Newcastle. And we lost a lot of faces last year, like Nicky Carl, Paul Ocon, Milton, etc., etc. So, for the boys to come back into that team, to step up and put their hand up is a credit to them.
Probably some of the boys getting inclusions in the Aussie squad, that sort of thing's really given them a lift, and you can see that. And, Joel Griffiths is obviously on fire. I think probably if you take him out of the equation, You know, it could be a different side. You know, so hopefully, I mean, any team that's obviously playing Newcastle is going to really focus on Joel Griffiths and obviously try and overcome the rest of the team.
Andy Packer there with his thoughts on his opponent tonight, the Newcastle Jets. He knows a thing or two about championships. Packer, of course, he was in the Sydney lineup that won the first season and is the only member of this squad who was with Frank Farina in 1997 when the Brisbane Strikers beat Sydney United in that famous day all those years ago. It's about defence, winning championships. We often talk about it. At the back of Newcastle's formation, Mike, is Ante Kovic. He came back, obviously, from Europe. How do you assess the importance of this player to Newcastle's cause?
Well, it's consistency, and you know, everyone wants a consistent goalkeeper. That's easier said than done. Actually, just on that note, I think the quality of the goalkeeping this year across the board has been much higher than it has been in the first two seasons of the competition. Look at that wonderful save from Kovic to help the Jets to get a win in Gosford during the regular season. He's pulled off big saves consistently. He's a big man. He looks calm. He looks very confident at the moment. We know he had his problems when he joined the club halfway through last season, but we also know he's got the pedigree. 5 years in Sweden with Hammarby. He's a decent keeper and he's proving it, and that's a great backbone for the Jets.
Well, 8 clean sheets for the man who is the incumbent, or I guess knocking on the door of the incumbent, Mark Schwarzer, at national team level. Perhaps psychologically that's something that's turned Kovic around his club form, just coming so publicly and saying, I want to challenge Schwarzer for the #1 shirt for the national team. Of course, one of the men he's going to have to watch out for tonight is Reinaldo. The goal he scored last week against Sydney, I think everyone will remember for some time to come. Enigmatic player, I think it's fair to say. He misses some inexplicably easy chances and scores the spectacular ones, and this is right at the top of the tree.
Oh, this is a fabulous, fabulous goal. You're right, he misses easy chances, but it's also obvious that when he's not there, he's missed. And the way Queensland set themselves up, we call it a 4-3-3, but in reality, Reinaldo's up there on his own a lot of the time, waiting for the support to arrive. He's bulked up in the off-season. We've already talked about this during the regular season. He didn't go home to Brazil after last season. He stayed around in Brisbane, worked in the gym, worked in a fitness program, and it's paid dividends. He's scored a decent amount of goals. He should have scored more, but you can see the confidence flowing through his game now, and Queensland are going to have a fight on their hands now to keep hold of him.
Of those 7 goals, interestingly, no penalties, and when you compare him to the top marksmen in the competition, a number of them, Joel Griffiths included, John Aloisi, do take the spot kicks for their team. So I guess despite the fact that he does miss a couple of what you'd think to be easier chances, we shouldn't take away from the importance of Joel Griffiths for this team. Now, Newcastle and Queensland are the best defences in the competition. Central Coast legged them up by their poor finish to the season. But talk about championship winning games. Newcastle, 19 goals conceded. It's remarkable, really. 23 games played, and the Jets on the same number, just 24. So it's conceding a goal a game, give or take. It's a pretty solid stat, Mike.
Yeah, look, I mean, you know, all coaches have been around for a while will tell you the same thing. It's defences which win championships. Queensland have done well with Craig Moore, haven't they? I think he was slow at the start of the season, Craig Moore. I don't think he had a great first half of the season. He's certainly come home a lot stronger in the second half of the season, in the big games when it's counted. Not just, of course, on the park, his influence in the dressing room. They've settled on that back four, Queensland. You know, Frank did change it around a lot, if we remember, in the first half of the season. He's got the same 4 players now for a number of weeks. That's been their platform. The other side of the thing is Jade North and Andrew Durante in the heart of that Jets defence have been absolutely fabulous. They're great mates. They've been playing together for 7 or 8 years in the old NSL, so both teams very well set in defence.
Well, the Bruce brothers, they are. Oggy and Moore. Sash Ognianowski in the press this week, Mike, saying that apart from the football, there's going to be a bit of verbal between he and Joel Griffiths. He'll be looking to go down the mental disintegration track, which could be a very interesting one. Your summation of his season?
Very good, and we know he's on his way to Adelaide United next season. It's a funny thing for a player to be wearing one shirt in big games this season, knowing that he's going somewhere else next season. Ognianowski's been a find. He's another example that if you look hard enough in the state leagues around Australia, you will find A-League quality players. Look, you know, he's physical, he's strong, he's big, he's benefited massively from having Craig Moore alongside him. He'll try and get in Joel Griffiths' head, we know that, but he's also one of 6 Queensland players sitting on a yellow card, which is a massive factor as well going into this game. 10 players in all going into this match are dreading the possibility of a grand final suspension. So, look, Sash can take it so far, but he can't cross that line.
Where's this game going to be won and lost, Mike?
Joel Griffiths.
Pure and simple?
Simple as that. He's scored in each of the 3 games against Queensland this year. If they can keep him quiet, Queensland can win this game.
Doesn't concern you that Joel was off his game last week? There's a lot of talk, obviously, about the hamstring injury going into that game and how that took away from his effort. He's had a week to recover. You're confident that he can be back to his very best, as he will need to be today to be the decisive factor that you're tipping?
Yes, look, he will be. Look, I think Queensland will win this game, having said that, but I think Joel Griffiths is the key man in both teams. He was poor last week. The medical staff at Newcastle will tell you there was nothing wrong with his hamstring. It was all mental. They've spent the whole week convincing him that he's ready to go and ready to make those those 5-10 metre sprints that make him such a fabulous player. So I think Joel Griffiths is up for a big game, and I think he'll be a very, very important factor in which way this goes.
All right, well, it's from Mike Cockrell's viewpoint, Joel Griffiths to be the man for Newcastle, but it's Queensland to win. Time will tell. We're not far from kick-off here, and that very experienced man as player and coach, Frank Farina, just firing up his charges. Matt Mackay, of course, well, his last couple of games have certainly brought him back into the forefront of the Queensland cause. And Newcastle are in their third finals campaign. They're looking towards their first championship game. Queensland are in their first finals campaign and looking to go all the way at their first attempt. For both, a place in Asia and the Central Coast Mariners await. Will the Jets soar or will Queensland roar? Kick-off the preliminary final up next.
A grand final berth is in the melting pot, and the Roar are aiming to do much better from the spot against the Jets team who've enjoyed their highs and had their lows, with last week's derby loss a fatal blow. It's been a happy hunting ground for the Roar, but Reinaldo and the boys, they want more. It's the second biggest game of the season. The preliminary final offers a ticket to the grand final and, of course, a coveted place in the 2009 AFC Champions League. Well, Newcastle Jets are hoping to eradicate the bad memories of falling at the same stage last year on penalties. Queensland Roar hoping to maintain an amazing record. They've never lost a game here at the Energy Australia Stadium. It's a wonderful evening here in the Hunter region of New South Wales. The biggest game certainly in Queensland's short history. Newcastle fell one game short of the grand final last season. They missed out on the minor premiership this season by just goal difference. So near and yet so far for the home team. They're hoping that they will turn that sorry situation around. Well, Gary Van Egmond has reacted to last week's demoralising defeat in Gosford by making two changes to his 11. Stu Mushalik returns to the holding midfield role in place of Noel Spencer, while Adam Deputso gets a surprise recall in place of the Korean import Song Jin Hyung. Deputso gets his start as a left-back to try and nullify Robbie Cruz, with Matt Thompson pushed forward as one of three supporting midfielders for lone striker Joel Griffiths. Both Mushalik and Jade North had been affected by a virus but have been declared fit to play. Well, it's never been Frank Farina's habit to change a winning team, so he's not about to start now as the Roar look forward to the biggest game of their short history. It's the usual 4-3-3. Craig Moore and Sash Ognanovsky providing the defensive platform. Matt Mackay and Massimo Madoka the midfield work rate, and Robbie Cruz and Michael Zullo the width and penetration for centre forward Reinaldo, who's calmed Queensland nerves by being past fit for the biggest game of the season. Well, the A-League's Golden Boot loves playing against Queensland. Most of all, Joel Griffiths has scored in each of the 3 games so far this season. Can he make it 4 against the Roar and put the Jets through that grand final door? Well, the nation said sorry to the stolen generation this week, and Jets Aboriginal skipper Jade North couldn't have been prouder, but he won't be expecting any apologies at all from the hard-nosed Roar captain Craig Moore, a man he credits for being a great source of inspiration. The referee tonight for the preliminary final, Peter Green. The pitch is picture perfect, the weather ideal, the second biggest game of the season. Who will join the Central Coast Mariners in the grand final in a week's time? Well, it's the Roar in orange, the Jets in gold. The Jets with a better record head-to-head this season, but the Roar haven't lost on this ground in 5 previous appearances. It's set up for an absolute cliffhanger, and aren't we lucky to be here, Andy Harper?
As always, great day in Newcastle. Their team has a big job to do. In the depths of despair in comparative terms after their capitulation last week against the Central Coast Mariners, Queensland a completely different scenario for them. They're on fire at the moment. Their last late season form slump has certainly been consigned to the history books, and they were great against Sydney last week. And if we learned anything from Newcastle last week, Van Egmond the way he put his team out in reacting to what he expected to be the Central Coast's approach and the extent to which that backfired. Big question mark over the decision to move Matt Thompson from left fullback.
Well, the first instalment in what's sure to be a long-running saga, that one between Depuzo and Cruz. Instead of Depuzo getting the better of his opponent in the first instance. Here's Marcinho, the Brazilian. He's left it behind. Long ball forward by Depuzo. Griffiths, it's 1 against 3 for the moment. Just the sort of odds that Joel Griffiths enjoys. The golden boot, of course, of the home and away season. 12 goals for Griffiths, who after this season is over will head to Japan to join Avispa Fukuoka, a second division club on loan, where he'll find 2 Sydney FC players, Mark Rudin and Ufuk Tale, waiting for him. Mistake there by Bridge. Reinaldo seizes upon it. Here's Zullo. He's been forced wider than he would have liked. Reinaldo wants the early ball in. He's the target. And it fell in the end for Marcinho. That could so easily have been the first goal of the game.
Well, forget could have been. It should have been. Put that down as a clearance from Marcinho, whose opening 2 minutes have been boisterous on the back of a good performance last week. Zullo slinging in a hopeful cross, I think it's best described, and that is a clearance from Marcinho. And it should have been 1-0 to Queensland. And what a tonic it would have been to the visiting team. Terrible, terrible waste from Marcinho.
These young wide players for Queensland, Zullo and Cruz, caused such a stir. They arrived on the scene. It's fair to say, by their standards, they've been quiet over the last 5 to 6 weeks. Maybe this is the day and the occasion they've been waiting for. The pitch is immaculate. Perfect for players who do like the ball to their feet, like Zullo and Cruz. Zullo caught late by Elrich. The referee has spotted it. Good officiating from Peter Green.
Well, I think Michael Zullo and Robbie Cruz have done their job for the season, if I can put it that way. They are the reason Queensland got out of their slump after 7 or 8 games and really made a charge for the finals. The job, as we saw last week, now defers to the more experienced players. And on that score, Matt Mackay and Mas Madoka, whose form had slumped in the third of the season, were back to their best last week. And that's the best news for Queensland Raw fans.
Driven forward by Moore. Backing in was McLaughlin. It's fair to say the Jets produced their worst performance of the season in that second leg of the major semi a week ago in Gosford against their arch rivals, the Mariners. Very, very flat. Andrew Durante making the interesting point. He was one of 4 players who was called into the club on the Friday night for contract talks. He felt that was a distraction. The club has since decided to stall all contract negotiations until the season is over, making sure their players focus on the task at hand, and that, of course, to try and get the Jets into their first ever grand final. Elrich, one of those players, talking about a new deal here in Newcastle. Depuzo. Here's Holland. He's opened up the room for Matt Thompson. He can't get the better of Craig Moore. Hasn't he been in imperious form in the last 2 or 3 weeks, Craig Moore? North. Craig Moore now with his mind on only one thing, and that is to continue his club career with Queensland. He's retired from the national team after the World Cup qualifier against Qatar a fortnight ago. Nice way to go out as well. And typically understated, wasn't it? The exit from the Socceroos by Craig Moore.
I think he's been outstanding for Queensland. I differ from you, Mike. I think the first part of his season's contribution I thought was excellent too. He used all his experience to do just what he needed to get through those games, and as Queensland's case gathered momentum, he got better and better. I think he's been a great acquisition for the Raw.
Here's Bridge now playing on the right-hand side. With the handball against McLaughlin. Free header by Packer. He's made an awful mess of it.
Here's Thompson. Matt Thompson still going. Pass 3. Thompson! Could have been the goal of the season from Thompson. He's done the hard part, hasn't he?
And ultimately just can't beat the post. The ball thundering off the upright. But talk about tripping the light. Fantastic. Skips through 2, 3. Challenges the fourth with the shot and rattles the post. Liam Reddy was beaten, and Ante Kovic, what might have been a great chance. One apiece, both teams, either end of the field.
Would have been a nice early settler, that one, for Newcastle. Interesting how both coaches were desperate to claim the underdog tag going into this game. I feel the pressure's on Newcastle. They are at home. They are trying to bounce back. Elrich caught late by Zullo. It's a difficult game as well for the referee, isn't it? 10 players sitting on yellow cards. 6 Queenslanders, 4 for Newcastle. I'm not sure if Peter Green's got all those names in his notebook, but I'm sure he'll feel sad, if nothing else, if he does put someone out of the grand final. Not that referees, of course, are allowed to show too much emotion.
Well, he's just do his job as is expected, and the players have to do theirs as well. I think the difficulty for the players coming into this game is the varying interpretations from the referees in the final series so far. I thought Ben Williams last week at the Blue Tongue Stadium let more go than perhaps another referee would. Govan Egmont, reading between the lines of some of his comments, felt the same, and it certainly suited the Mariners.
I don't think any fair-minded person likes to see a player miss a grand final.
No,
we saw
not
it
at
with
all.
Mark Milligan in season 1. We saw it with Matthew Kemp in season 2. Something it takes a long, long time for a player to get over, missing a massive game like that. Here's Michalek. Elrich. See a lot of him getting forward last week. Adam Griffiths. Turns it over. Marcinho. Not sure what that idea was. 2 Brazilians getting their wires crossed.
Well, Newcastle strikers have to work hard to get a yard, 2 yards, 3 yards away from their immediate defenders, with Josh McLaughlin, Ognenovski, Moore and Packer. As long as the game is in front of them, and certainly with Mark Bridge and Joel Griffiths within striking distance, they're a lot more comfortable. Griffiths' mobility, Mark Bridges' mobility are key, and the delivery from Michalek and Adam Griffiths, James Holland, so important that they play the ball away from the defenders into space.
North. Jade North has the name of his tribe, the Biripi tribe, tattooed on his forearm. As I said, an emotional week for him. Here he is on the ball. He's left it almost short of Kovic. The clearance not the best. Mackay seizing upon it. Crunching tackle from Griffiths. And a legal one, says the referee. The first card of the game goes to the Jets, but fortunately for Adam Griffiths, it won't cost him a spot in the grand final. At least not yet.
As we saw last week, on debut, Song, with pretty much the first late tackle of the game, was given a yellow card, and nothing else came up to that benchmark according to the referee. And here's the incident here, which started from the pressure from Reinaldo. Matt Mackay instinctively looking to bounce the ball straight back into the vacant net, and Adam Griffiths bringing down Matt Mackay.
Well, that should have been in the grandstand from Ante Kovic, that clearance.
But there we have a key part of the game. The benchmark for adjudication set by the referee, 40 metres out from goal. Marcinho standing over the dead ball.
Maybe a little bit too far for the Brazilian. He goes short. Well watched by North. Jade North, one of only a handful of Aboriginal footballers at the highest level. Deep throw, cleared by Michalek. Zullo puts it back in the mix-up. Reinaldo's won the contact. And a fairly optimistic shout there for a penalty from McLaughlin.
That's good refereeing from Peter Green. That was good play from Craig Moore. He read the situation. He needed to stop Matt Thompson in his tracks. And Peter Green let the play go on. No advantage was running. 65% of possession for Newcastle, which is, of course, exactly the way they've built their season. It was a part of their game which was missing, absent without permission last week against the Central Coast, and for that you have to give credit to the Coast. They really bustled and pressured. Queensland do very well to take out a leaf out of Laurie McKenna's book.
Here's Griffiths. He's dropped deep, getting enough of the ball by the look of things. Almost played it in behind McLaughlin. Zullo doesn't have a lot of help over there. Takes on Elrich for pace, but runs out of space. We're led to believe among the 200 or 300 Queensland fans who've travelled down in 3 busloads for this game, there's around 50 members of the extended Zullo clan. Ognanovski. There is Zullo. Good challenge from Elrich. There they are, the travelling support for Queensland. Not a sellout, I can tell you. This stadium hasn't filled, which is a little bit of a disappointment. Maybe a little bit of support as well for the FFA's argument about where the grand final should and could be played. You would have thought Newcastle could fill the ground for this game. It is essentially their grand final.
Well, the locals perhaps disappointed from last week, and we all know a win builds a crowd, which builds a win, which builds a crowd, and very deflating experience for Newcastle last week. But also talking to some of the Newcastle officials before the match, I thought the ticketing prices were an issue as well coming into this game. It's all, of course, into the mix for FFA to decode and work out how to fill the place next time this takes place.
North looking for Griffiths. Asks a bit too much of his number 9. Thompson nudged off it by Murdoka just as he played the pass. Pretty well even Stevens, the opening 13.5 minutes of this game. A couple of good chances at either end. Elrich again getting forward. He's played the ball over the sideline. That's a disappointing touch from Tarek Elrich.
Well, it is, because in these big games, I mean, any game of football, that's a poor piece of work from Tarek Elrich, who's had a great season. But in these pressure cooker games, winner takes all, qualification for the grand final, moments like that, when you're building pressure on your opponents, allows Queensland in this instance to take a big sigh, to suck in some much-needed oxygen and to relax a little bit. And that was a golden moment for Tarek Elrich to really turn the screws. He wasn't up to it on that occasion.
Well, we're told he may not be the only Elrich on the team sheet here at Newcastle next season. The club confirming today they have open discussions with his elder brother, Ahmed Elrich, who, of course, has been under contract this season with the Wellington Phoenix. He's looking to resurrect his career, really. The fringe Socceroos winger, Ahmed Elrich, who's back in Australia after a disappointing spell with Fulham. And Tarek making the point, funnily enough, to the club that his signature on a piece of paper would certainly be helped if it was joined by that of his brother.
Well, very interested to see how Ahmed goes next year, wherever he ends up. Looks like Newcastle's a good show. He looked desperately short of a gallop for the Phoenix this year after his injury. But if we can put that down to an elongated pre-season, then Ahmed Elrich might well be back to his best next year, which would be fabulous for the A-League and whichever team procures his services.
Murdoka drives it diagonally towards McLaughlin. It's cleared his head. This is the silly season, isn't it, in terms of the transfer market, particularly with 2 Queensland clubs tipped to join the competition next season, Gold Coast and North Queensland. Someone like Josh McLaughlin, who's from the Gold Coast, might have a decision to make. Although Queensland have shored up their own stocks, they've signed Luke De Vere and Isaka Cernak, 2 AIS graduates during the week. Pretty heavy competition though for players in Queensland if both those clubs join the league. Here's Deputso getting forward for the first time. He's had a big offer from Adelaide United. Durante. Ognenovski nipping in. Great work by Ognenovski. But he looks up and there's only Reinaldo on offer. He's ridden the first challenge. In the end, there were just too many gold shirts in the way for Ognenovski. So here's Mushalik. Just wonder whether Mushalik will be able to last the distance. He's had appendix problems. He's had all sorts of problems with his energy levels. He's tried different diets. He's really been in the wars this season, Stewie Mushalik. Had hoped it would be a big season. It's turned out to be the exact opposite. This is maybe a chance for him to redeem himself somewhat. Novocastrian, born and bred. Well, he slipped at a critical moment. Matt Mackay in on goals. Mackay across the face of goal. And the most relieved man inside the ground has to be Mushalik. It was his mistake.
Well, he started the game well, Mushalik. Newcastle back into a more familiar rhythm, and he's right at the centre of that, but he lost his footing here. And Matt Mackay putting the pressure high up the field, and I guess on this occasion, Mackay really needed to take another touch and close that angle a little bit more. Ante Kovic really would have been a big ask to get beaten from there. Good anticipation from Mackay, but in the end, didn't have the calmness and presence of mind to really execute.
Here's Griffiths. Shadowed by Ognenovski. Now Holland. Good turn from Bridge. Well, if he'd have gone down there, Peter Green would have had an interesting decision to make. Elrich goes for goal. He tests the keeper. Smart save by Reddy. Offside is Adam Griffiths as the Novocastrian fans appeal for a penalty.
Well, there's a couple of interesting points out of this play. Firstly was, as you called it, Mark Bridge in the penalty area. And we wind the clock back 6 minutes in when Matt Thompson danced through the penalty area, and Queensland looking to concede their feet in the penalty area, which is the interesting point. Now, Adam Griffiths clearly offside there. The save from Liam Reddy then, with Griffiths making the play on the ball, he became active, and therefore the referee had no choice but to award offside. But Queensland in their own penalty area, on the 2 or 3 occasions that Newcastle have made their way to that part of the field, have looked more than willing to leave their feet and to dive in, and that would be a worry for Frank Farina.
Well, these are the two best defensive teams in the league. Funnily enough, they've got identical for and against records over the course of the regular season. There is a hair's breadth between the Jets and the Raw. Bridge escapes down that right-hand side. Drives it deep, looking for Thompson. Cleared by Packer. Just a couple of signs in the last few minutes that Newcastle have stepped up a gear. North. Here's Charlick. Here's Bridge, bound for Sydney FC next season. Mark Bridge. Elrich, shown the line by McLaughlin. He cuts inside instead. Looks to play the 1-2. with Holland and commits the foul in his enthusiasm to get the ball back. Tarek Elrich.
Well, Newcastle gaining in confidence. Queensland finding it difficult to get near their opponents in the midfield area. Eric making a play on the ball here and won the ball, to be fair. I thought that should have been play on. More than just youthful exuberance. That was a calculated tackle from Elrich. 72% of possession for Newcastle. Queensland can't afford to let Newcastle dominate play when they're at their best. They have to get amongst them, disrupt the flow of the game. Mishalik's the key. Marcinho looks to have been deployed on the hip of Stu Mishalik. Mishalik can get the better of Marcinho, and Marcinho has to rise to the occasion.
Not renowned, shall we say, for his work rate, Marcinho. Slightly different role than he has been used to. When he has to do the dirty work, he has to roll up his sleeves. He's got Danny Tiato on the bench, breathing down his neck, replacing the starting 11. Well, Tiato, of course, returning from that 2-game suspension.
Well, quite clearly, Marcinho's brief, at least half of it, is to stop Mishalik from igniting the Newcastle possession game. If he can't do that, he'll be letting his team down. Farina will have a job in deciding what to do from there. I can assure you Stu Mishalik would rather be playing Marcinho than Danny Tiato.
Of course, the Jets have the most completed passes and the best passing efficiency of any team in the competition, which begs the question why they haven't scored more goals. Lead-up play is good, possession game is good, but they've relied so heavily on just one player. And that, of course, is Joel Griffiths, who scored virtually half the team's goals. Capuzzo thought about going back to his goalkeeper. He's turned it over instead. Reinaldo squares it up. Zullo! In the end, it was a snapshot from Michael Zullo. He was waiting and he was waiting, and by the time the ball arrived, he was under pressure. The chance goes begging.
Well, it was a chance that no one really looked to grab by the scruff of the neck. Firstly, Capuzzo's poor clearance wasn't totally seized upon from Reinaldo. When he found Robbie Cruz, he wasn't completely sure what to do. And the ball ended up with Michael Zullo, who was off balance himself, and unsurprisingly, the chance came to nothing.
Frank Farina thinking I would have buried that. He was a pretty good striker in his day as well.
Got a good argument to back that up, I'd say.
Not the sort of striker who mucked around with 1 or 2 touches in the box, was he, Frank?
Yes, Reinaldo.
Very direct type of player. Of course, a top goal scorer in Belgium with Club Brugge. First Australian to play in the Serie A with Bari. Joined the club at the same time as the former England captain David Platt. So a decorated career as a player, Frank Farina, a great striker in his day. There he is. Of course, the former coach of the national team as well, and a Queenslander to boot. It's been a good season for both Farina and the Raw, but he wants to cap it off with a win here. He's already on record as saying this game in a lot of ways is bigger than the grand final for me because it guarantees a place in the 2009 Asian Champions League. Big stage for all Australian clubs, of course. Here's Reinaldo. Chance here for Cruz, Robbie Cruz! Not too far away, and some hesitation again in the heart of that Newcastle defence.
Well, again, the key to this was the wide play from McLaughlin. Beautiful work down the left-hand side, and then the interplay between Reinaldo and Marcinho. Beautiful pass from Marcinho to Robbie Cruz. A gilt-edged chance squandered by the youngster. He scored in that same goal. The second visit to this stadium earlier in the season, Robbie Cruz wasn't up to it on that occasion.
North. Back to Kovic, who threw a scare into the camp this week with a quadriceps injury. He missed a day of training, the Jets goalkeeper. Never, though, in doubt in his own mind that he'd be out there this evening. Well, they get lucky here, Newcastle. Adam Griffiths looking for his brother, Joel. Played onside by the Raw. Marcinho spreads it. Here's Packer. Inside is Murdocha. Delightful ball from Andy Packer. Murdocha gets the last pass which lets him down, isn't it? Reinaldo. Well, he didn't give up the lost cause, the Brazilian.
Of course, he's carrying a knee injury into this game, only cleared late in the piece, so his mobility is going to be a real question, a real point of interest as the game develops. But he wasn't giving up this one without a fight. Kovic very sprightly off his line. Pay credit to the interception from Sasha Ognenovski in that last attack from Newcastle. Excellent work from the big man at the back for Queensland.
Marcinho. Well, 26 and a half minutes gone. The possession's been with Newcastle, but arguably the better chances have fallen for Queensland Raw. A fascinating period of the match. Both teams desperate to get that enormous psychological advantage of the first goal. Queensland, of course, have never been beaten at this stadium. It's been a very happy hunting ground for them.
Joel Griffiths caught offside again. It's the fourth time or thereabouts. Just needs a little bit more diligence, Joel. He has been outstanding in that part of the game this season, worked incredibly hard. Apart from one or two slip-ups, very disciplined.
Here's Bridge. Well, there's a lot more energy about this Newcastle performance compared to a week ago. And even though they don't have the goal, I'm sure Gary Van Egmond will be far more satisfied with what he's seen from his players than he did in the major semi-final, second leg.
Well read, Ognenovski. There was a nice situation building for Newcastle. Plenty of pace down the right. Tarek Elrich. Ognenovski read that very, very well. Showed a clean pair of heels himself. Diffused the situation.
Reinaldo deep in his own half. It's played in Marcinho. Now Cruz. Zullo's unmarked on that far side. Cruz looks up. And in the end, those precious few seconds close down the opportunity. Holland, he's been quiet. Here's Deputso. Back heel. No mucking around for more. Well, that was committed from Durante. It had to be. It was a 50-50. Brazilian Marcinho has come off second best. Nothing wrong with the challenge, though. Here's Mackay. Griffiths has stayed down after the tackle from Ognenovski. It's Willing. Cruz slides it through. Zullo, 1 against 3, took it early on his weaker right foot, Michael Zullo.
Very bright start to the game from Michael Zullo, but like Robbie Cruz before him, just when the trigger was to be pulled, a lack of confidence, perhaps rushed the effort. That's where the composure that comes with experience can really be a telling factor. But a nice build-up from Queensland on the back of a very physical exchange around the centre circle. Both teams giving plenty. And in the end, it was Marcinho who released Zullo with a beautiful pass.
Well, he scored on debut, Michael Zullo. That was 15 games ago, and he hasn't scored since. Another physical examination of Joel Griffiths by this Queensland defence. Somehow Cruz keeps his feet. He's done well. Zullo in on goal. Michael Zullo! Well, there's 2 chances in the space of a couple of minutes that he should have at least tested the goalkeeper, Zullo. In a game of this importance, you cannot afford to squander such opportunities. Griffiths. Joel Griffiths almost crept in, ready, stretched out that big left hand, and he got a fingertip to keeper. That's a save.
Oh, what a beautifully fluent piece of play from Newcastle. Adam Griffiths, James Holland, Joel Griffiths. Look at that touch. And it was Matt Thompson, my apology. Didn't look to be a lot on the shot, but it had the angle, and Liam Reddy moved perhaps a little bit late, but got the touch he needed. Fingertip start from the Queensland custodian.
Great save, Liam Reddy, against his good mate Joel Griffiths. No mates though here this evening. It's all about business, and that's scoring goals and winning games. Joel Griffiths almost brought the house down. Here's Bridge. The switch of play. It's to Putso. Advantage played by Peter Green. Elrich. Thompson again looking to play the 1-2. That's rush clearance from McLaughlin.
That's the area where I reckon Newcastle can do Queensland some real damage. That where Mark Bridge just picked the ball up there, whether it's he or another player, James Holland, in that hole just in front of Ognenovski and Moore, someone to settle on the ball. At that point, Joel Griffiths can work his runs, angle his runs from a standing start in a far more concerted, controlled way. At the moment, the long balls to Joel Griffiths are being eaten up, devoured by Moore and Ognenovski, but it's that number 10 area, if I can put it that way, that area in the hole, as they refer to it, which Newcastle need to fill a lot more effectively. Mark Bridge, James Holland might be the answer, and you look to the bench with Song and perhaps a Denny as the game goes on. That is a real key for Newcastle to unlocking Queensland.
Well, in the last 2 seasons, Newcastle haven't lost after scoring the first goal of the game. So they know how important it is to get the first goal here this evening. And Griffiths coming ever so close. Marcinho's shot blocked by Durante. Here's Charlick. North put under pressure by Zullo. So composed play by Newcastle. We're used to seeing that. Here's Holland, the 18-year-old who made such an impression on the new national coach Pim Verbeek. Forced away in the penalty area, James Holland. Durante. Holland. Delightful ball. Adam Griffiths. Cross came off Mackay. Griffiths asking the question of the assistant whether it was a handball, but he's already been booked out of Griffiths. He'll have to keep his protest to a minimum.
It's a definite handball, even though Matt Mackay's looked to withdraw that left arm, but that would be to take away from the passage of play that got Newcastle into that area of the field. Wonderful movement. Terrific fluency, nice weight on the passes, and they have a corner to show for it.
DePuzzo. Out comes Reddy. Confident take from a confident keeper. Liam Reddy. Good throw as well. Marcinho. As Cruz stayed onside. He's kept the ball in play and he is onside. Chance here for Queensland. Cruz gets to the byline and in the end it will be a corner. The Newcastle players guilty of ball watching there. No flag.
Well, where Newcastle's play resulted in a corner was a model of efficiency and passing and movement. Queensland, for their effort to win a corner, was a succinct and it was an explosive counter-attack. Marcinho to the fore and Robbie Cruz rounding the ball up to win the corner.
Logan's there, Moore's there, Ognenovski, near post. Craig Moore threw himself at the ball.
They're calling for a penalty too, Craig Moore as well.
No, they never get them, do they, defenders? And again from Marcinho. And the header at the near post. I think it was Ognenovski. Griffiths as well was there. There might have been a clash of heads. Full-blooded commitment.
Well, the referee's concerned he was straight there. Here's Ognenovski for the near post. Adam Griffiths, very brave defending. He's won the corner and he's probably got a shiner as well for his trouble. Tremendous commitment. Kovic beaten.
Well, plenty of claret there, is there? Ognenovski.
It'll take more than that. You need a sledgehammer to knock Sash Ognenovski out of a football match.
Oh, that's a nasty one.
It is a nasty one.
In the forward there.
But he'll be back. He'll be back for
eye.
more, and he'll be looking to repay with interest. That'll do nothing other than fire him up, unless, of course, we hasten to add, he's picked up a concussion along the way, but he seems to be moving okay. Adam Griffiths, there'd be concern over him as well. He was brave to the cause of his team there.
He'll be dazed and confused, Adam Griffiths, at the moment, but it looks as though he's got the harder head. Another corner for Queensland. Ognenovski down to the dressing room for treatment, and it comes from Marcinho, near post. A nudge from McLaughlin. Chance for the Jets to relieve the pressure.
Nervous times for Newcastle. They've looked a little bit brittle when really been put under the microscope, but for Queensland's poor finishing. And here's the incident. DePuzzo on Moore. Handful of the shirt. Should have been a penalty.
They're never given, or very rarely.
Well, sometimes they are, Michael. Sometimes they are.
DePuzzo.
In fact, Adam Griffiths should have had one last week.
Here's Bridge. Makes room for the cross. Does ever so well. Mark Bridge near post ball. Ready, spilled it. Matty Thompson! The Jets in front. At home. And the fans are in raptures.
We'll put this goal down to Mark Bridge. Fabulous piece of work on the byline to get rid of the attending defender. A drop of the shoulder, a swivel of the hips and a change of direction. And he fired the cross in. It was Michael Zullo beaten. Turned himself inside out. Reddy could just palm it with two hands. And Matt Thompson hit the post with his first one, but not the second. That has gone straight through the heart of Queensland's goal. And I dare say, straight through the heart of Queensland.
Goal number 2 of the season for Matty Thompson. It's worth its weight in gold. As we've already mentioned, they don't lose from here, Newcastle. They haven't lost in 2 seasons after getting the first goal of the game, and this one has been delivered by Matt Thompson. And the Roar down a man and now down a goal.
Well, that's a very good pickup, Mike, because Sash Ognenovski would have been in that space or thereabouts. And perhaps Queensland, a man down, did feel the pinch on that occasion. Ognenovski still hasn't re-emerged from the tunnel. Joel Griffiths again for the umpteenth time being caught offside, and I think a little bit of a don't argue from one of his better mates in football, Liam Reddy.
No mates.
in preliminary finals. Well, Farina will be desperate to have Ogninovski back out there. The question is how long it will take to repair the wound. Danny Tiato could be an option off the bench, slotting into left back and McLaughlin moving into the middle. Marcinho. He drives it towards the penalty spot, and that's a clean pickup from Kovic. Griffiths checked his run. He's away. Griffiths. Joel Griffiths. Save from Reddy. Liam Reddy has kept Queensland in this contest. Newcastle moving in for the kill. Well, Ogninovski's bandaged on the sideline. He's desperate to get out there. Still the Raw down a man.
I'd love to know what the protocol for allowing a player back onto the field, but Peter Green has seen Ogninovski, acknowledged his presence. What he's waiting for, goodness only knows. Finally.
Well, Queensland have a fair complaint there. Ogninovski should have been on already.
Well, the thing was, actually, I've just noticed Peter Green run to Ogninovski now, and probably in fairness to the referee, he wanted to check that the bandage had done its job, but you could argue that's the role of the fourth official.
We both agree on that one.
For a change. Things must be wrong.
Holland with a free kick for Newcastle. Leaves it short. Adam Griffiths. Thompson gets in front of Packer. Adam Griffiths, his first touch wasn't the best. Ogninovski clears, but for how long? Newcastle on top now, very much on top. Heading towards a half-time break. Here's Deputso. Marcinho's done well. He's got his body in front, and he's got the free kick.
Wants to watch that arm, though. Marcinho players have been sent for less than that.
Well, that's a mistake from Moore. A rush of blood to the head from the Raw captain. Over eager. Reinaldo taken out by Deputso. Packer doesn't have a lot of options or a lot of room.
Well, it's a frantic pace, 43 minutes in. I think neither set of players have stopped to draw breath, apart from the odd stoppage of play. Frenetic stuff. And on the balance of 44 minutes, Van Egmond's got the decision right to push Matt Thompson into midfield. He's been electric, with a goal to show for it as well.
Durante in cover. Here's Moore. Now Cruz. Moore continues his run. He overdid it, Robbie Cruz. Mackay. Well, Zullo ran away from the ball. That is the cardinal sin. 2 minutes to be added on to the end of a frenetic first half of football. The players will certainly appreciate the break. The Jets in front. One man I'm sure who's absolutely through with that is Nicky Carl, the former Jets favourite, who's watching this one on Sky TV in England. Now playing, of course, for Bristol City. But his heart very much still with the Newcastle Jets, a feeling that, of course, is reciprocated by the Newcastle fans. He was part of the team which fell at the penultimate hurdle last season. That preliminary final defeat in Adelaide.
Here's Elrich. Looking for Bridge. They're in the groove, aren't they, Newcastle? Their passing game is evident. It's clicked. It was invisible a week ago.
Yeah, for all that, Queensland have had arguably the best chances of the match, which they've fluffed. So they'll take a lot of heart from the fact that despite Newcastle being in impressive form, that Queensland have fashioned their own chances to pinch this one. Farina does need to make an adjustment to stop Newcastle playing up from the back so easily and bringing Mashalik into the game. It's the key to Newcastle's football.
Here's Reinaldo. Now Murdoka. Well, he's heading away from where he wants to go, Matt Murdoka. Can only be seconds remaining. Driven in by Cruz. Well, there is the half-time whistle from Peter Green, and it's a pleasing scoreline if you're a Newcastle Jets fan. Gary Van Egmond pulled the right rein. Hillfield, his goal scorer, Matt Thompson, rewarding the decision to push him into midfield. The history books tell us that the Jets won't lose from here, but there's a lot of water to go under the bridge at half-time here at Energy Australia Stadium. It's Newcastle 1 leading Queensland 0. Well, they may have their noses in front, the Newcastle Jets, but they know they've got a big second half in front of them in the preliminary final here against the Queensland Roar. The go-to goal from Matt Thompson. The Roar showed enough in that first half of football to suggest they have a goal at least in their armoury. Well, the stats from a fantastic 45 minutes of football. Possession overwhelmingly in favour of Newcastle, but it was Queensland who spent more time in the opposition half. They had more corners as well, the Roar. 3-2, just 4 offsides in the game, 16 fouls and just the 1 yellow card. That's to Adam Griffiths. So far, those 10 players who have been walking the tightrope have escaped a sanction. We talked about how thrilling that first half of football was, and really it was right from the start that the action came thick and fast. The Roar with the early opportunity through Marcinho.
Well, Marcinho's figured in this first half for good and bad reasons if you're a Queensland Roar, and this is a really poor miss. Zulu did well. It was a hopeful cross, really, but well enough to get the ball to the point where it was just 3 or 4 yards out from goal, and inexplicably Marcinho leaning back. Anything else and you fancy it would have been 1-0 for Queensland. A horrible miss.
An early let-off for Newcastle. Well, one of the changes that Van Egmond did make was to push Matt Thompson into midfield.
Packer not clearing with the header. It was a poor effort from a very experienced player, but look at the work that came on the back of it from Matt Thompson. The stadium was on its feet as the man in number 8 danced around the penalty area, and some pretending defending from the Queensland Roar. Moore beaten, Ognjanowski sliding in but can't beat the post, Matt Thompson.
Well, they might have struggled in terms of territory in the early stages of the game, Queensland, but didn't they have some good chances? Matt Mackay, 19 minutes into the match.
And a bit of a portent of things to come. Here we have Stu Mashalik, who had settled back into his normal rhythm so impressively until that point. And Mackay, and this was the start of a procession of good chances for Queensland, which they've really wasted.
Well, play immediately went up the other end, and it was Tarek Elrich on the end of things for Newcastle.
Well, Mark Bridge again, for the second time in this highlights package, doing some great work down the right channel. And it was Tarek Elrich letting rip with his left foot. That wasn't the offside issue. It was Adam Griffiths, once he'd looked to make the play off Liam Reddy's deflected shot. He's had a good game, Liam Reddy, and the full-on Sony strike speed from Tarek Elrich. There we have it with that left foot, 112 k's off the boot, and by the time it gets to Reddy, 102 kilometres an hour behind the ball.
Well, we talked about the promise of Zulu and Cruz for Queensland, but they are missing that finishing touch.
Well, they certainly are. Reinaldo didn't really know what to do with it. Robbie Cruz looked in two minds, and by the time it's bounced clear to Michael Zulu, whose first half has been vibrant, I should say, on balance, he really was off balance as well and harmlessly over Newcastle's bar.
A minute later, it was Robbie Cruz's opportunity to put Queensland in front.
Cruz has been quiet in his first half, but he's had a couple of very bright moments, and he used his body beautifully there. It was a good ball from Marcinho. That's the first point. The second point on Robbie Cruz is the nice little shimmy that he uses. Look at how he lets the ball run in front of his body. The finish there after is poor, but the lead-up work was very promising.
And it was Zulu again who spurned a great chance for Queensland.
Well, the chances just kept getting better for Queensland. Michael Zulu again. The diagnosis maintains the same for Queensland. It's a lack of experience, I guess, in the final analysis, and that was another great chance going begging.
Well, if you keep missing chances, usually you're made to pay. And Newcastle Jets, towards the end of that first half, dominated the match.
Plenty of possession for Newcastle. The strike speed there off Joel Griffiths, 78 k's. Didn't quite get onto it off the boot, but nevertheless it forced a good save from Liam Reddy.
5 minutes before the interval, Matt Thompson with a goal he'll remember for a long, long time.
Well, a couple of points about this. Ognenovski's off the field with his head wound. That's the point number one. Second point is Mark Bridge. Excellent work down the right-hand side to get rid of the attention of Michael Zulu. It was beautiful wing play from a very talented player. Liam Reddy at full stretch with 2 dukes, but not enough otherwise. And Matt Thompson, one of the highlight players from the first half, ramming the chance home. Queensland couldn't take their opportunities. Newcastle certainly could. And Matt Thompson, after hitting the post on 6 minutes, found the back of the net on 40 minutes. 119 k's off the boot from Tomo, and into the back of the net it goes. 1-0 for Queensland.
Well, 1-0 for Newcastle, actually, and they had another chance in the dying stages of the half. The first time, really, that Joel Griffiths has got in behind.
Yeah, thanks for that correction, Mike. You're quite right. Joel Griffiths had punctured that back line. He hadn't managed it the entire half of football. But for once, Queensland's defence just out of sync. Madoka bearing down on Joel Griffiths, and Joel Griffiths forcing another handy save from Liam Reddy.
So no goals for the Golden Boot, but 1 for Matt Thompson. These are the attack stats of the first half of football. 8 shots from Queensland, 5 from Newcastle. It was Queensland who also had more balls into the opposition penalty area, but 4 shots to 1 on target for Newcastle. That is a telling statistic. And also the fact that Liam Reddy had 3 saves to make compared to just the 1 by Ante Kovic. Well, you can roar, but they made of stern stuff, Queensland. Can they dig themselves out of a hole? We'll find the answer in just a moment. Reddy grew up together, but there's no mates when a crucial game of football is there to be won. As Gary Van Egmond well knows, the league's top scorer hasn't got the better of the Raw keeper just yet, but he might yet get the last laugh. The Jets leading the preliminary final with 1 half of football to go. Well, what does the Jets coach Gary Van Egmond think of proceedings so far? He's talking with Mel McLaughlin.
Gary, there was a frantic start to the game and it didn't change throughout the first 45. Are you happy with that?
Yeah, look, to go 1-0 up prior to the break obviously was fantastic. I thought the way that we played was very positive as well. We just got to be aware of them catching us on the counter, obviously, which we've spoken about. But overall, very pleased with the first half performance.
It's been a pretty physical encounter. Have you been able to play your own game?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think that's one thing we did get last week. We got a little bit bullied, and that was one thing we spoke about this week, that we were never going to get being bullied, especially on our home patch. So it was important for us to stamp our authority on the game very early, and I thought we did that.
And just on that goal, you guys in the last 2 seasons have, when you've scored first, you've gone on and not lost the game. Has that been a factor at all in your mind?
Look, there's all these different scenarios and statistics that are coming up, but it all goes out the window at finals time.
All right, thanks a lot.
Thanks, Mel.
Wise to be cautious, Gary Van Egmond. Stats are there to be broken. Newcastle is a fabulous football nursery. It's got an amazing tradition going right back to the post-war years, Andy Harper, but they've never raised a championship trophy here in Newcastle. Halfway through this preliminary final, they have the goal they were looking for. The stats and the history books favour them. Can they go on with it? Are we about to see history in the making?
Well, first leg of the major semi-final, Newcastle beat Central Coast 2-0. Gary Van Egmond talked about the footballing gods being on his team side that day. And I think if he looks on balance in the first half, as impressive as his team has been in large part, are very fortunate that Queensland didn't put them to the sword on at least one occasion. It mightn't be the football gods, but it was certainly Queensland's profligacy which has enabled Newcastle to take the lead at the break.
So that sounds like a maybe.
They're certainly good enough to go on with it, but Queensland haven't got to this point of the season for no reason. There's plenty of fight left in them.
Well, on the bench for Queensland, Danny Tiato, Simon Lynch, Hyuk-Soo So, and Taj Minikon. Minikon in particular, you'd expect to enter the game sooner rather than later if this scoreline doesn't change. One thing Frank Farina hasn't done when he's found his team behind is changed the shape of his team. There's Danny Tiato, former Socceroos midfielder. Is there a case maybe for Farina to tinker with his formation here over the remainder of this match?
I think the point of concern for Farina was that the Newcastle were getting into their passing rhythm, something that the Central Coast nullified so effectively in the major semi-final series, particularly last week at Blue Tongue. Farina will be mindful of that. But on balance, I'd say reasonably comfortable with the counter-attacking style his team's been playing.
Well, McLaughlin's turned it over to Thompson, who took his eye off the ball. And Massimo Madoka, as you come to expect from him, was in there quickly to win it back. Amazing work rate, Massimo Madoka. Here's Cruz. It was a good ball, a decent ball from Andy Packer. And again, it's just about that finishing touch from these two exciting youngsters, Cruz and Zullo. It's composure. But that does come, as we know, with experience. Reinaldo been kept quiet so far after that stunning goal against Sydney FC. Brought down. Griffiths has already been booked. He's treading a fine line, Adam Griffiths.
Tremendous work, Reinaldo. He used his body in the first instance beautifully to secure possession, and then there was a bullocking physical run. Durante trying to pull him back. 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Adam Griffiths lunges. Durante with the major contact, 24 metres out. Now this is within direct range from Marcinho. He hasn't been able to find the target terribly frequently from set pieces.
Here. He's licking his lips for this one, Sasha Ognenovski. There's no secrets about the way Sasha Ognenovski addressed the football. Ognenovski flashed wide of the post.
Very close. Kovic comfortably watching the ball to safety. I think it was a little closer than Ante Kovic led on. It's just whistled clear. He has a hefty lump on that right cheekbone.
Thompson, the goal scorer. Moore nips in. Here's Cruz now. Not a popular decision, that one's by Peter Green.
Whatever tells you that, Michael.
Peter Green, incidentally, is officiating here in the absence of both Mark Shield and Matthew Breeze. Australia's top 2 officials, nominally anyway, are in the Canary Islands at a FIFA seminar. It's the start of the long road towards deciding who will referee the 2010 World Cup. Tough gig. Someone's got to do it. Reinaldo. Marcinho. Now Zullo whips it in early, headed away by Durante. Cruz. Mackay does well to open up some room. Reinaldo looking to play the return. Mackay!
Well, that's better from Queensland. And that's taking Newcastle on at their own game, and it's a good ploy. More considered approach like that will serve the Orange Army very well. Matt Mackay. Wonderful link up with Reinaldo on the right foot. That's a rare sight from Matt Mackay.
Not a lot of conviction was there in that shot from Mackay.
Well, focus on the positives from a team chasing the game. Mackay, good penetration out of midfield. Nice link with Reinaldo. It provides a foundation on which Queensland can build.
Capuzzo's done well. He continues his run. And it was offside, clearly, against Joel Griffiths. Zullo.
Well, Zullo's done well down the left-hand side. He's got the points decision over Tarek Elrich at this stage, I'd say. On the other side of the field, not so. Robbie Cruz has been well contained by Adam Deputso. And one part of Queensland's game that hasn't been in evidence this evening has been those long raking diagonal balls from Sash Ognanovski to Robbie Cruz, isolated on the right wing. Very effective tool for Queensland throughout the season, and we haven't seen it once so far tonight.
The shadows beginning to lengthen as the sun goes down behind the Western Grandstand. There he is, Reinaldo, Queensland's top goal scorer. He is under contract for next season, but he's had offers from France, from Brazil, his home country, from the MLS. Real Salt Lake have made an offer, we believe. Long throw. It's come off Marcinho. Queensland making it clear, though, that they're not intending to lose their centre forward after such a good season. Reinaldo. Just on that subject, there's 22 footballers out there. I reckon around 12 or 14 of them are in contract discussions. Of course, the standard line is that, no, it doesn't affect me, it doesn't distract me, but does it?
Well, Gary and Egmont had the most poignant comment to make about that. It's just part of football. You can't stop it. People need to secure their future. Clubs need to secure their playing. The squads, it's just part of it. The challenge is for the players to put it to the back of their mind and concentrate on the football at hand. That's better from Robbie Cruz. Good couple of touches. Good confidence builder. Deputso's still up to the challenge. Conceded the corner, but a better piece from Robbie Cruz. Some good moments in the first half. That was a better exchange from the young player.
Well, they've got height here, Queensland, and they use it. Driven in. Looking for McCloggett. It was Thompson with the clearing header. And Mark Bridges nicked in, just as Ognanovski was sizing up a big size 12. Play it straight through the ball. Andy Packer not happy with Ognanovski's hesitation.
Well, he needed to be a little bit more cool with the ball at his feet there. He's just hoofed it anywhere. And there was an opportunity for Queensland to build again. Newcastle's throw.
McCloggett, now Zullo. It's come off Elrich. A foul has been committed by Tarek Elrich.
He's done very well, Tarek Elrich, to make sure that Michael Zullo, all his best work is done as far as possible around the halfway line and running towards the sideline. He has conceded the free kick, but you'd much prefer that to a Newcastle Jet than the sight of the number 7 of Michael Zullo tearing down the left flank.
Flicked on by Reinaldo. Marcinho. The overhead. Audacious from Michael Zullo. Why not?
Indeed. A good sign. He had a couple of good chances in the first half. People with lesser potential might have gone back into their shell, but not Michael Zullo.
Well, they've kept the tempo high, Queensland. That's the key. A team renowned for never giving up. They like to play at a quick pace. Some people say they're the fittest team in the competition. Backer with a back pass. Ready, not too thrilled with the invitation. Holland. Here's Mackay. Zullo again finds Elrich in his way. Goes outside his man, early ball in, it's taken a deflection. Reinaldo, tidy attempt from the Brazilian. Difficult angle.
Well, I fancy that came off Jade North under pressure from Reinaldo. Great work, Michael Zullo.
More appealing for the decision. None given. He gets lucky, Craig Moore.
Very lucky.
Most uncharacteristic from the Queensland captain. Here's Zullo. Inside bridge. Murdoka. McLaughlin just clatters into Tarek Elrich. Clumsy, that's the best way of describing it.
Well, here's this ball. Took a deflection off Tarek Elrich. Did very well to make up the ground, and it's Reinaldo on the first post with the majority of the touch. You called it right, Mike. Jade North, good attention paid, good defending from the Newcastle captain.
Moore with a header. Bridge. Interesting how Moore attacked that ball rather than Ognanovski. I just wonder whether with that head wound he's reluctant to challenge for the ball in the air. Sash Ognanovski. Heavily bandaged, of course.
More blood coming from that wound. We can just see it appearing underneath the taping and bandaging.
Does he know where he is? You're at Energy Australia Stadium, Sash. It's the preliminary final and you're trailing. Well, he's got his bearings there because he's tangled with Joel Griffiths, all arms and legs. Moore drives it wide to Zullo. Michael Zullo gets himself a metre of space. Reinaldo again at that near post area. He just needs the ball a little bit further in front of him, Reinaldo.
Well, he needs to finish these chances.
Well, that's a tough one.
It's a tough one, but this is a preliminary final of a professional football match. Michael Zullo's made the space.
Gee whiz, it'd have been good to get that one.
Well, he's a good player. He's a good player and his team needs him. And perhaps he's just overrun the first post. Great pressure again from Andrew Durante, and the chances keep coming for Queensland.
Well, the first change made by Gary Van Egmond, and it's James Holland, who again has been a little bit quiet. He makes way for Troy Herefield, who's back in favour after a long, long spell out of the reckoning. The boy from country New South Wales, from Tamworth. I can tell you the Jets have plenty of fans in that neck of the woods. A group of students have gathered at the UNE at Armidale to watch this game. The Jets fans at Earl Page College, I should say. They're far and wide, these Newcastle fans, and at the moment it's going their way. Although Queensland in the last couple of minutes have really asked some questions. Half an hour left on the clock. Great atmosphere. They're lifting the roof, the Jets fans, and they form the vast majority of this crowd. To Putzo's corner. Good delivery as well. Hesitation from Queensland. They got very lucky there, Queensland. No one attacked the ball with any purpose.
Well, Jade North picked up a yellow card for kicking the ball away. It was needless.
It's not going to count against them in terms of the grand final.
But it might count against them in this game. Forget the grand final for the time being. There's still 30 minutes for Newcastle to negotiate. Queensland are coming. Make no mistake, Michael Zullo's hit his straps. If Robbie Cruz can find some inspiration down the right-hand side, it'll be double trouble for the Jets.
Seven balls into the box by Queensland in this second half. And that is confirmation that they are right back in this. Remember, they've never lost a game at this ground, Queensland Roar. And nudge there from Capuzzo. The flow of decisions going against Newcastle. That's always a sign that one team's getting on top.
Well, sandwiched between Capuzzo and Herefield. Taj Minican split. This will be a good change. Danny Tiato as well. Here comes the speed and the experience.
Ognenovski comes to the sideline. Again, I asked the question about possible concussion for Serge Ognenovski.
Completely understandable if that's the case.
A bit more blood seeping from the wound. He needs a bit more attention. Difficult one for a coach, isn't it?
Well, the decision will be Ognenovski's. If he hasn't got concussion, which is obviously a very serious medical issue, degree of comfort will be Ognenovski's call.
Let's not forget, of course, that Ognenovski was off the field when Newcastle scored their goal. So that's another issue for Farina and his staff to manage. We believe it'll be Marcinho and Robbie Cruz who'll make way when this double change is effected. Tiato and Minicon. Two pretty good options off the bench for Queensland.
Good movement from Frank Farina too. The Minicon can replicate the Zulo effect down the left. It'll be a good option for Queensland. And Marcinho, who hasn't really been able to deliver defensively for his team tonight. A couple of nice passes as well. And has put a couple of chances on for his team. But it's trying to stop the flow of possession out of Newcastle's midfield, where Marcinho has found the going a little more difficult.
Well, Cruz makes way for his good mate Taj Minicon, and what Queensland get here, of course, is blinding pace. And what they get with the second change is vast experience. Danny Tiato, he served his time sent off in the final home and away game of the season in Adelaide. A complete rush of blood to the head. He says, look, I'm 34. I'm a different man now. He's learnt from the experience. We'll wait and see. Controversy, you'd have to say, has followed Danny Tiato right from the start of his career. But they need cool heads now, and they need a cool contribution from Tiato. Chested forward by Zullo. Reinaldo put Durante under just enough pressure. Well, Newcastle, we might mention at this stage, of course, played 120 minutes against the Mariners a week ago. Queensland have also had 2 extra days of rest. Could that be a factor?
Well, not over the course of 7 days. I wouldn't have thought so. If there was a 5-day turnaround, perhaps going from a Sunday to a Friday for argument's sake, but Newcastle, really, they were only 70 kilometres down the road at Gosford. 7 days to get ready.
16,021. The FFA recalibrated their accounting procedures after all that controversy over the crowd figure here against the Mariners, but whichever way you recalibrate it,
yeah, well,
it's a bit disappointing.
Talk about recalibration. Again, we were told there were 17,000 pre-sold, so a lot of people haven't turned up on a beautiful day in Newcastle to watch the preliminary final, and you go figure. Anyway, the 16 grand who are here are having a great time. Most of them supporting Newcastle. Their team has their nose in front.
Ognenovski. Hesitation. Moore cleans up. He's been outstanding, Craig Moore. Here's Charlotte. Here's Packer. Now Minicon with his first contribution. Packer continues his run. Packer squares it up. North, cool, maybe too cool though. He's turned it over straight to Minicon. His cross comes off Thompson. Corner Queensland.
They're not home yet, Newcastle. They've got the home crowd behind them. They've got the goals lead, but Newcastle very wary of this Queensland team, which is mounting a considerable resurgence.
They've found their voice, those travelling Queensland fans, that's for sure. And it comes from Tiato to the edge of the box. Moore's won the header.
Plenty of time there, Craig Moore, too, to at least direct the ball downwards to the goal and through the traffic. He's a wonderful footballer. And he has a wonderful heading technique. It let him down on that occasion.
Well, 6 shots on goal in the second half from Queensland. Newcastle haven't mounted a shot to threaten Liam Reddy. Mistake there from Durante. Zulo's in. Squares it up, Murdocha. Cleared by North, who's furious, absolutely furious. The Jets captain with some sloppy work in midfield. Well, aren't they coming home strongly, Queensland? There's a long way to go, 20 and a bit minutes. Anyone's game.
Well, they're coming all right.
And again, the free kick goes to the team in orange. More frustration for Newcastle. Played quickly to Minicon. That's a lazy cross from Minicon. Moore does better. Mazzulo's the only man there. He's a very small man as well. Somehow he got the header towards the goal. But Liam, I should say, Ante Kovic knows what we suspect, and that's that his team has dropped off. Some mistakes being made. They are sitting deeper in defence. They're losing the 50-50s. They're all key performance indicators, if you like, to the way this game is starting to develop.
What are you, a management consultant?
Everyone else is.
KPIs, it's all going here. It's all going. And credit Frank Farina, not just for the personnel, but the adjustment he's made. Matt Mackay has moved up to pick up directly into a confrontation with Stu Michalek, and that's a very astute move from Farina. Michalek's come back to the pack since that's occurred, and Queensland demonstrably more in the game as a result.
Here's Reddy. Route 1 from the goalkeeper. Reinaldo contests. Zulo. Zulo's shot, unconvincing again.
No, I think he's been wonderful in the second half.
Everything but the final touch.
Well, he's had a couple of good ones of those too, by the way. Some of those crosses and the dribbling. Tarek Elrich looks a beaten man at the moment. He's contained Zulo as best he could for most of the game. And Tarek Elrich in his own right has had a wonderful season. But Michael Zulo in this second half, a real breath of hope for Queensland. 17 shots for the men in orange. Jets have mustered 5, but they've got the one that's counted.
Newcastle 4 on target compared to Queensland's 3, and that, of course, is the difference. Matt Thompson's goal at the end of the first half. Minicon, another corner, Queensland. Well, they're building a case. They're building a very convincing case.
They're just hanging on, Newcastle. Now the quality control issue comes in for Queensland.
The KPI.
Well, they've got the momentum, they've got the territory in the possession. Now they need presence of mind to execute.
Tiato's corner. Headed away by North. Tiato given a free roll in midfield. Very good pass with the ball, Danny Tiato. Sometimes that's overlooked. Murdocha. Jinks inside, Mass Murdocha. Whips in a dangerous ball. A nudge from Reinaldo. And the Jets get a decision, and listen to the roar from the Newcastle fans.
Well, they know what's at stake as well. They're breathing collective sighs of relief. And Craig Moore, noticeably, whilst he's still deployed ostensibly as a defender, and a good decision there from Peter Green. Craig Moore is making more and more ventures into midfield. Again, it's a good option for Queensland. So long as the back remains patrolled, McCloggin, Ognenovski, Packer, and Craig Moore with all his experience and football quality to provide an extra man in midfield.
Well, they're not going to die wondering, are they, Queensland? They're throwing everything they've got at Newcastle, and the Jets are shaking. Sash Ognenovski
Still on the field, still with that nasty wound above the right eye. Moore. Zullo's seeing a lot of the ball. Elrich a bit stronger on this occasion. Griffiths ball inside here. Field didn't time the run. Playing a lot further forward in the second half. Minicon still can't beat the first man. That 3 or 4 times now Taj Minicon hasn't been able to get the cross into the penalty area. Tiato to the edge of the box. McLaughlin's under it. Wins the header. Moore.
That hurt too, Craig Moore. The challenge with Matt Thompson. Jammed his foot against Thompson's outstretched boot. But the corners resulted. Another chance for Queensland. Simon Lynch is stripped on the sideline in the technical area for the Raw. He's not far away from coming into the fray.
Tiato away from the keeper. Moore climbs. Hasn't been cleared. Now it has. Anywhere will do. There's only bridge forward for Newcastle. And what a heavy clash between Ognenovski and Adam Griffiths. Well, Griffiths certainly came off second best. That would have hurt. I felt that from up here. Ognenovski into the book. And that's a harsh decision. Griffiths certainly fell heavily.
Well, it was Griffiths and Ognenovski whose heads clashed in the first half.
And that's going to keep him out of the grand final, of course, assuming Queensland get that far.
We're going to 3 at the back. He's not communicating with Frank Farina. Unless Frank Farina was testing his eyesight from a distance, they're looking to rearrange the defensive lineup. Josh McLaughlin makes way for Simon Lynch.
A defender off, a striker on. The Scotsman Simon Lynch, the former Celtic player, out of contract at the end of this season. Goal here would help his cause for a new one, I'm sure. Madoka. There he is, Simon Lynch. A barren season, a disappointing season.
Newcastle have weathered the storm momentarily at least. 15 to go. Questions all with Queensland. It's Farina who's making the changes, readjusting his team lineup, as they must, of course.
Zullo playing it into the channel, asking Lynch to chase, which he does. That's a poor ball, a risky ball, a bad ball from Tiato. Griffiths platted into by Craig Moore. That is a professional foul, a cynical foul, and Moore's not going to complain. Guilty as charged.
Well, he committed himself to put pressure on the ball to start with, and the moment he realised he wasn't going to win that, and there was space behind him to exploit, up goes the hand, out comes the car. Joel Griffiths has sucked in the Socceroo stalwart.
4 cards now from the top pocket of Peter Green. Only one of them will sideline a player for the grand final if Queensland get there, and that's Sash Ogdenovsky. Well, these Jets fans now trying to become the 12th man to get the team home at home. Badoka. Tiato. Again, he's turned it over. Tiato. Bridge. Thompson. Capuzzo's up and under. Looked to be a nudge on Lynch. That's the way the referee saw it. Good game in difficult circumstances, Peter
Very
Green.
good game. Very good game. Hardly missed a beat. And even then you'd be splitting hairs. Durante's been good tonight. Very, very good. Jade North as usual. Their last-ditch tackling has been good. Newcastle have come unstuck on a couple of occasions from further out from goal. And were it not for Jade North and Andrew Durante, they might indeed be sharing the lead, if not chasing the game.
Tiato's corner goes deep. Outstretched hand from Kovic, but it has crossed the line in its flight. This will be a goal kick.
It's unusual from Danny Tiato. His passing has really not hit the mark since he's been on the ground. And that corner, which swung out from his taking, was the latest case in point.
Beautiful scene here at the Energy Australia Stadium. That eastern grandstand is a magnificent one, of course. This stadium about to go into a period of redevelopment, hopefully into a 45,000 all-seater stadium. Then they will be able to have grand finals here, and of course internationals as well. That's the idea. Chance here for Newcastle to seal it. Well, their flag was up very late. Joel Griffiths is furious. I thought he was onside. I thought he came from an onside position. The replay will be very interesting. Very interesting indeed. Moore's header.
There's Joel Griffiths is onside clearly. Troy Herfield's offside. Maybe Joel Griffiths might have been better just to remove all doubt, because I'm with you. I think the assistant referee left it very late. And if Joel Griffiths was the person flagged for offside, well, that's a shocking decision. Terrible decision. I mean, you can't be any more onside than that.
Deerfield was offside, but I think the flag was up by then, personally. Either way, it's a reprieve for Queensland, whichever way you look at it. Troy Deerfield, a yellow card for his complaints. That decision will fire up Joel Griffiths. Down he goes, Ogdenovsky's challenge. He's been booked already, Ogdenovsky. A couple of signs now that Newcastle might have survived that onslaught. Capuzzo's free kick has cleared everyone.
Again, that was well defended from Queensland. None of the Newcastle players could get a clear run at the ball, which was the telling factor. Capuzzo's free kick had a nice tail on it and well flighted.
Durante.
Zullo's header.
He's the last man really you want on the end of a cross, Michael Zullo, unless it's a tap-in. But he's been excellent down the left flank, but his heading really needs a little bit of work, and he is obviously no giant physically.
Here's Zullo. Just a hint of desperation about Queensland now. 8 minutes remaining for the Roar to find an equaliser to send this match into extra time.
That's the first time Ogdanovsky's let rip with those long diagonal balls that came to nothing. And I guess it's a tactic that's worked so well for Queensland. Perhaps at that moment in time a little bit more conservatism would have been the order of the day. Allow Queensland to build another attack. And Newcastle have been able to take the heat out of Queensland's onslaught. Queensland haven't been able to maintain wave after wave of attack, which is when they hit their high point in this second half. Still time for them to do it.
What a fabulous game of football it's been. Credit to Newcastle first for the way they have responded to the bitter disappointment of a week ago. Credit as well, of course, to Queensland Roar. What a fantastic performance they've given so far.
Just listen
I've been
to that
unlucky,
crowd.
but they've asked plenty of questions of Newcastle, and they're now 6 minutes between Newcastle and a place in the grand final. And the atmosphere here is electric at Energy Australia Stadium.
Well, the anticipation is building in the grandstand on the eastern side. Squadrons jumping in unison. They're smelling a result, a favourable result.
Still time, of course, for Queensland. They've got the energy. Those fans doing their best to urge this home team home. In it comes. Left by Ogdanovsky. Cleaned up by Reddy. Quick release to Zullo. But he's left it behind. Lynch's header misdirected. Here's Tiato. Reinaldo. Well, Reinaldo declared fit for this game after that knee injury against Sydney FC. I don't know if he looks 100%. Just hasn't had that sharpness that we saw a week ago. Zullo's ball inside has been blocked by Elrich. Breaks for Lynch. Miscued clearance by North. Out comes Kovac. He's taken out his own player. That was almost a knockout punch. Jade North felt that. Here is Reinaldo. Ogdanovsky. Here's Mackay. Needs to get it in early. Not the right option for Matt Mackay. Had bodies inside the box, Queensland. Newcastle. Newcastle needing to do what they do best now, and that's just keep possession of the ball. Bridge flicks it on. Packer goes back to his goalkeeper. Griffiths, free on the far side is Herefield. They got it horribly wrong, Newcastle. They had the numbers, they had the opportunity. Queensland survive. Murdocha. 3 minutes to be added on to the end of this match. That makes around 4 minutes for Queensland to conjure an equaliser. Tiato whips it in. Well, Newcastle have backed off. It's dangerous. Moore drives it forward. Cut out by Newcastle. Here's Joel Griffiths. Murdocha. They just swarm around the ball, don't they, Queensland? Mackay. He's out on his feet, Matt Mackay. He's running on empty. Tiato. Now Minicon.
They needed a bit more width there, Queensland. Newcastle's defence had all funneled in. Done a very good job, but Queensland could have sprung them wide. It's where they just have to maintain composure. Time is against them. The possession isn't at the moment.
Well, Song Jin Hyung, the Korean, is stripped and ready for the Jets. Zullo launches it towards the middle. Lynch goes down. Penalty! Peter Green has awarded a penalty! Unbelievable! The 90th minute of the game. Well, stunned disbelief from the Jets.
High drama here at Energy Australia Stadium. Craig Moore took a penalty here earlier in the season to win the game. Ante Kovic saved on that occasion. Now does the former Socceroo step to the point, and here's why. Well, that is a very, very interesting call, if I can put it that way. Simon Lynch reaching out first up. Onto Adam DePuzzo. Well, you thought you'd seen it all. Mike Cockrell's been invoking the spirit of the management consultant. There's 16,000 people, mainly Novocastrians, looking to see if their team can go to a championship game. They're 3 minutes away from that eventuality, and up pops the penalty.
The most important kick of Reinaldo's Queensland career.
Reinaldo, who's had barely a touch of significance in this first half in this game of football. What a lifeline for his team, and I am prepared to say on balance it's no less than Queensland have deserved. But Newcastle so agonisingly close to a grand final spot in normal time. Look like now having to go to extra time. The stutter from Reinaldo into the back of the net, that's real composure. And at what point now did Newcastle start to wind the clock back psychologically? 12 months to extra time against Adelaide.
His first penalty of the season, Reinaldo. And a cool head in a red-hot situation. Troy Hearfield, the sub, has been subbed. Song Jin-hyung, Korean under-20 international.
And after not getting a penalty in the first 2 seasons of the A-League or thereabouts, Queensland have pinched one remarkably when they needed it most.
Well, the odds now certainly in favour of extra time. It came out of nothing, you'd have to say. They looked down and out, Queensland, but they roused themselves and they got their reward. Talk about a roller coaster of emotions for Newcastle. They will be terribly deflated, the Jets now.
And what about that disallowed goal, Joel Griffiths to Troy Hearfield for offside? I cannot wait to hear the official line on that one. What a post-mortem this game is going to have. Amazing drama, controversy, quality, passion.
Here's Bridge, looking for Griffiths. Made that back post run, ready. Gets it up the other end of the park in a hurry. A look at the watch from Peter Green. Well, for the second finals game in a row, we're going to go to extra time. Incredible finish. Newcastle Jets thought they were home and hosed, but they weren't. A penalty from Reinaldo in the final 90 seconds of this match has given Queensland a lifeline. The Jets fans not happy. Joel Griffiths leading the protests. But there's more work to do now for Gary Van Egmond and his Newcastle team, his shell-shocked Newcastle team. Full time, or I should say after 90 minutes, it's Newcastle 1, Queensland 1. It's not full time, we've got extra time to go. How does Gary Van Egmond get his players up here?
Well, he's got tremendous quality to start with. He's looking to include Song in the equation as well, which I think is a good rein to pull at this point. But obviously, the psychology now comes with Queensland. What a way to finish that match. They deserved it on balance, I believe. And here's the way the action unfolded. Michael Bridge outstanding in the first half. Mark Bridge rather. And Matt Thompson, who's had a stellar match for him, moved from left fullback into midfield and didn't miss with that one. Honestly, he's put his foot right through the guts of that night football. And it was good enough for Newcastle right up to injury time, when Simon Lynch has drawn the foul from Adam DePuzzo. He's done his job coming off the bench. There was an enormous amount of pressure riding on the shoulders of Reinaldo. He was up to the occasion. And it's 1-1 at full time. Frank Farina giving it everything he's got. What a relief for him. His team was very good tonight. 1-1 is a fair result at this point. Having said that, enormous controversy around disallowed goals and that penalty itself. And let's not forget that just before Newcastle scored their one goal, Craig Moore perhaps had a call for a penalty for the shirt pull in the first half. So it's all been happening at the Energy Australia Stadium, and it will continue to do so over the next half hour, make no mistake.
Well, I'm sure they're a deflated bunch at the moment, Newcastle. Their assistant coach, Mark Jones, is talking with Mel McLaughlin.
Mark, you were just minutes away from the victory. How deflating is this for the team?
I think it's one of those ones where we're extremely disappointed in the circumstances of the penalty, but obviously that's the way it is now, so they have to use that as motivation to make sure we get a result at the end.
So obviously you weren't too impressed with that call for the penalty?
No, I don't think anyone was, but I mean, that's, like I said, that sometimes those things happen, but now we have to win. I think we deserve to be in the grand final, so now we've got to go and do it the hard way.
So what's the message to the guys now?
I think it's in spite of adversity, you need to dig a little bit deeper and make sure you get the result you deserve.
It's been played at a frantic pace. You're confident they've got the legs to do it?
Yeah, I think we have. I mean, we're as fit, if not fitter, than any team in the league. So I think it's that won't be the issue now. It's just a matter of self-belief and getting out there and getting the job done.
All right, thanks a lot, Mark.
Thank you.
Well, talking points are plenty. Certainly that penalty decision. Jade North, as skipper, continues his protest. He knows it's not going to change anything. What about the offside call as well? That could have been a turning point as well.
Well, I cannot see. Joel Griffiths, who's about to receive the ball, it's a beautifully timed run. He's completely onside. Now, this is play on at this point. referee Peter Green has waved play on. The flag has gone up, obviously before Hearfield's come into the game. So the assistant referee must have decided that Joel Griffiths was offside. That's all I can decipher, and he got it so horribly wrong on that occasion. The challenge now for Joel Griffiths, Jade North, the more experienced members of the Newcastle team, is to contain the emotion. Jade North has been very vocal in his exchange with referee Peter Green. He's still shaking his head. Well, the challenge for the men in goal is to put that behind them. Obviously, it's a huge talking point, but it's done and dusted. Now, Craig Moore and his team, well, he's had a great game, but he's skating now on thin ice with that yellow card for the challenge he made on Joel Griffiths. How well does he get his troops backfiring? Because Queensland, let's not forget, they had a wonderful period in that second half where they were battering Newcastle's defence, and by that stage, when it didn't come off, they looked like they were dead and buried, and up comes the penalty decision. Reinaldo nailed that penalty. We go to extra time. Brilliant stuff.
120 minutes last week, Newcastle. You said it wasn't going to be a factor. Is it going to be a factor over the next half an hour?
Not physically. Newcastle's position now is between the ears. If they can put the decision that Peter Green had decided against them behind them, or use it as a motivation, as assistant coach Mark Jones said, then Newcastle are very much in it. Physically, this is not an issue. Queensland have got their own issues. Craig Moore has got lingering injury concerns. Danny Ciardo hasn't been great fitness-wise all season, and Reinaldo's lumbering as well, lumbering with an injury. So it goes both ways.
Well, who'd be a scriptwriter in this amazing Hyundai A-League season? Queensland Roar live to fight another day, having looked to be a beaten side. Newcastle Jets, they know all about adversity. I wonder how many of these Newcastle players will be having flashbacks to a year ago at Hindmarsh Stadium in Adelaide, beaten on penalties in the preliminary final. Stewie Mushalik was the player who missed the deciding penalty. The save came from Daniel Beltrame. Minicon. Here's Packer. Well, Frank Farina's made one change here. He's gone to a back three. Lynch, who won the penalty. Song with his first contribution. So you've got Tiato, Moore and Ognenovski playing at the back. Packer's been hurt. That's been a heavy collision. Bridge, two players down behind play. Song's the player in the middle. Mark Bridge, here's the Korean. Song just trying to get into the pace of this match. Here's Tarek Elrich. Madoka now.
Well, it was Thompson and Packer who clattered into each other in that 50-50 ball, and they're both carrying heavy knocks.
Well, both Gary Van Egmond and Frank Farina have emptied the bench. They'll have to last the distance, even if they are on one leg. Adam Griffiths. Out comes Reddy. I wonder if Song Jin Hyung is going to be a key figure in the way this game is decided now. The Korean made his debut last week in very tough circumstances, away from home, the local derby. Played 105 minutes. He hasn't played a competitive match until that point for 4 months. His last K-League game, I think, was in early October for FC Seoul in a 1-0 loss to Daegu. Gary Van Egmond did leave him out of the side here this evening, but he did make the point he was very happy with his contribution. It was just a tactical switch rather than anything else. And there were signs and a few flashes of the creativity of Song Jin Hyung. There's got fresh legs. His game starts now. He's got half an hour. He's the freshest and probably fittest player out there at the moment.
Well, he's playing in a wide right midfield role. Van Egmond is looking more for him to play in that hole but behind a striker, that half-striker role, a number 10 role as we referred to it before. Joel Griffiths has dropped back to midfield and Mark Bridge has gone up to be at the pointy end of Newcastle's lineup. So there's plenty of football in the midfield of Newcastle if they can manage to maintain possession again.
Minicon bundled over by Adam Capuzzo. Gets the bounce of the ball, Simon Lynch. Keeps it in play as well. Well, that was a dangerous ball from Tiato. Madoka made the mistake. Now Joel Griffiths. He tangles with Craig Moore. That decision I would expect if it had to be made. It hasn't because the advantages have been played. But Craig Moore, I feel, was the victim.
We've got front position. Joel Griffiths has run the ball into Moore's path. He's landed on Joel Griffiths' leg there too, which is the cause of the discomfort from the Queensland skipper.
The wrist, is it? Problem with the wrist for Craig Moore.
It was a very good opportunity for Joel Griffiths. Now I'd say it's in the side there, just where his elbow is. That's the area right in his midriff. Here he makes good ground. It's a fair defensive play on the ball, and then there, landing on the leg of Joel Griffiths. I'm surprised Joel Griffiths has come away from that fully intact as well.
Craig Moore is thinking right now, who told me it was an easy gig going home to play in the A-League? It's been far from that. The battle-scarred warrior.
It's just been a tremendous
decade in the Scottish Premier League. He knows about playing through the pain barrier.
Just been a tremendous occasion, this. Newcastle don't get through to the grand final, they'll be spitting chips. Queensland will declare that they had plenty of chances to at least finish on par. The 16,000 gathered here from about 5 minutes out thought Newcastle were home. But they didn't count on a last-minute penalty to be awarded by Peter Green in the most controversial of circumstances.
Did he get it right?
No, I don't think he did.
That's why we pay you the big bucks, to get off the fence.
But football pans out, opportunities pan out. Queensland had great chances that they squandered, which were purely their own fault, by the way. Anyway, we get an extra half hour of football. That's all I care about.
Who needs a marketing budget when you've got games like this? The final series has been wonderful.
I'm surprised you didn't use the word spend there, Michael. Given the new hat you're now wearing.
Song back to Elrich.
Didn't do it well last week, Newcastle. They got a chance in this extra time period to get Song Jin-hyung more into the game. He's a very tidy player with the ball at his feet. Good aggressive instincts to attack defenders. He was, in my opinion, underutilised last week, and he can be the difference in this extra time period if Newcastle can get him the ball.
Song Jin-hyung. Wonder
referee's aware of the reputation of the man who's playing on top of him, Danny Tiato. Docker, crucial that he got a touch. Now Durante. Thompson. And Adam Griffiths knew, I sense, that he was offside when the pass was played.
And Matt Thompson needed to reward the first run from Adam Griffiths, so the hesitation was what took Griffiths over into the offside area. He's been great tonight, Matt Thompson. He's feeling the pinch now, that heavy challenge with Andy Packer, and fatigue setting in visibly.
He saw those headlines disappear, didn't he? The match-winning goal didn't turn out to be the case. Here's Moore. Well, he's found new reserves of energy, Craig Moore. Bridge. Griffiths tangles with Packer. He goes to ground, grabbed the ball, he got the decision.
Well, that's the free kick there. Advantage was played. Andy Packer has blown up Peter Green, but got it totally right there.
It's Song. Not quite sure what that was all about. He says it came off the Queensland player. He's got a look of disbelief. Song Jin Hyung. And he's got a case. Deary me, how did the referee not see that? Minicon. There's Zullo. Docker. Reinaldo trying to make some room for himself. Trying to nudge Jade North out of the way. He was having none of it. Adam Griffiths bursts through the middle. Bridge saw the run from Thompson out of the corner of his eye. Joel Griffiths. Song. Down he goes, and that's a penalty. Well, at least he's consistent, the referee. We talked about Song Jin Hyung being a potential game breaker. The Jets go to the penalty spot.
And that came off the back of some beautiful play. Jade North releasing Stu Michalek in midfield. And from there, the sequence of passes which found the feet of the men in goal resulted in Song receiving the pass, moving away from the goal, and he's drawn the foul from Sashok Nanoski. Newcastle will feel vindicated. It's another tight call, and it's a penalty. When you consider what was given at the other end.
I reckon he got the ball. Either way, the referee's made his call. It's Griffiths against Reddy. And Griffiths sends the keeper the wrong way. Newcastle back in front. Can they hang on?
Great calmness from Joel Griffiths from the spot. That's another hugely contentious call, I concede that. But when you look at the vision that Peter Green must have had of that action, you can see why he's given the penalty. But honestly, they've been such tight calls from Joel Griffiths. Wonderful calmness under enormous pressure. And Matt Thompson, I think it was Griffiths who fed Song running away from goal. Liam Reddy goes the wrong way. The back of the net's rattled. The squadron celebrates, and Newcastle again with their noses in front.
Well, Joel Griffiths has maintained his record of scoring against Queensland in every game this season. 4 games, 4 goals. That's the big one. Goal number 14 of the season for Joel Griffiths, his second of the finals campaign. And the pendulum swings back in favour of Newcastle. Well, whatever you think of the decisions by Peter Green, he's not afraid to make the big one.
No, he didn't hesitate. And again, you can only comment on what you see by interpreting the vision and the view of the action that Green had. But he didn't hesitate on either count for either penalty. Huge talking points, though. Boy, oh boy.
Reinaldo. A fatigued-looking cross from the Brazilian Reinaldo. Well, there's a theory in sporting circles that you need to suffer before you get success. Newcastle suffered last season. This is Queensland's first season in the finals. It's a bit like serving an apprenticeship sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's the old adage. You know, you've got to lose one to win one. But, of course, it's difficult to apply that to the Newcastle because it's such a young competition. But if you can draw that line of thinking into this discussion, of course, Newcastle, having lost in the cruelest of circumstances last year, perhaps have served their apprenticeship in Queensland in their first finals campaign. Perhaps they need to taste the bitterness of close defeat before they can reasonably expect themselves to win the big ones. But wow, you wouldn't write them off. 15 minutes to go plus. It's just been another great night for the A-League. Another great night.
And the skipper revs up the fans as if they need much encouragement. There's no doubt now Queensland are playing against 12 men, no doubt whatsoever.
Well, just as Song came into the equation for Newcastle, Taj Minikin can be the real joker for Queensland. Enormous pace. Players start getting tired.
Reinaldo. Dangerous cross from the Brazilian. Here's Song. Good work to get away from 2. He's played Griffiths into space. He continues his run, Song. Bridge has to check his run. Has he stayed onside? Yes, he has. Mark Bridge. Great defensive work from Ognenovski. Superb. Absolutely superb.
And possibly critical hesitation from Mark Bridge. But look at the warhorse, Ognenovski. He just reached out to put Bridge off balance. Given the way penalties have been conceded, you've got to be careful applying that tactic, but just manful work from Ognenovski. He's playing wounded. His head must be buzzing after that heavy knock. Incredibly swollen left side of his face, and he still made the ground to take the edge off Newcastle's attack, because that would have finished it.
And you can see the blood seeping under the bandage again. Sash Ognenovski, what a warrior. Elrich took his time. Now Packer. "13 minutes. And Newcastle find themselves in the same situation they did during regulation time, looking at the watch, wondering, hoping they can hang on. Queensland good enough to come from behind once with the help of a contentious call from the referee, and they do it again. You know, people talk a lot about the first past the post system, the traditionalists. Most of the coaches around the A-League say the same thing. But you wouldn't swap finals matches for anything.
No, look, they've both got a great case. If you can argue, most football people go the first past the post, but these, in the Australian culture, these finals and what the players have dished up these last 3 weeks have been fabulous. Fabulous.
Griffiths chips it forward, looking for his twin brother. Moore. Finds Tiato. Now Mackay. Moore. Newcastle are backing off. Point was made by Gareth and Egmont about the game in Gosford a week ago. We defended way too deep. It's up to the likes of North and Durante really to sort that one out. Get a higher line operating with at the moment. Now backed off Mackay. Griffiths though with the block. Now Song. Bridge. Griffiths. Bridge on the overlap. So too is Tarek Elrich. Elrich on goal. Tarek Elrich! What a strike! The Jets are on their way to the grand final. Surely.
Wow! 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 From Tarek Elrich. What a counter-attack from Newcastle. And this one is all over by the shouting, and there'll be plenty of that round the pots and clots of the Hunter Valley. This team has exploded into the grand final. Care of a bullet from Tarek Elrich, who somehow, from somewhere, found an afterburner to life. And he's recruited every fast-twitch muscle fibre he could to get on the end of that. And then bang, she goes.
30 games into his A-League career, Tarek Elrich picks the perfect time to score his first goal. And Newcastle Jets, real heart, real determination. And surely they're not going to be beaten from here. Minicon.
Well, Newcastle have got the extra bit of breathing space which this occasion demanded of them, because it's been such a close contest, and Taj Minicum with that latest foray into the Newcastle penalty area, a sign of the things that he can add to the equation for Queensland, and they mustn't believe they're out of this yet. 10 minutes to go, but what a moment for a young player whose growth has been exponential this season. What a finish. Goodness me.
Craig Moore is off. It's gone pear-shaped for Queensland. The skipper finishes the season as he started it. The ruling, an elbow to the head of Mark Bridge.
Leading with the elbow there, Craig Moore again. you know, it was not a malicious incident, but referees have been clamping down on that sort of thing. With Craig Moore's departure, surely the final hopes of Queensland evaporate.
Well, he was sent off in game 1 against Adelaide United, Craig Moore. He's been shown the red in what looks to be Queensland's last game of the season. Disappointing way for it to end for the Queensland captain, and Frank Farina knows the game is up. Bridge back out there for Newcastle. They still are looking to make that change. Denny Rocha dos Santos, the Brazilian, will fancy getting involved here. 8 minutes. The game theoretically in the bag. Not a bad time to come off the bench and enjoy the moment and savour the atmosphere. And it's one of the goal scorers, Matt Thompson, who gets a standing ovation on his way off the park. Absolutely no need now for Newcastle to force the issue. Well, you've got to credit the coaching staff of the Jets. Gary Van Egmond, Mark Jones, Clint Gosling. They've had every right to feel aggrieved, even angry with that last-minute penalty in regulation time, but they kept their heads. They delivered the right message when it counted ahead of extra time. And sometimes these things have a way of evening themselves out. But it was very important at that stage that the coaching staff had a clear message to the players.
Well, they got a very good break early in extra time, which gave them the lead on the scoreboard. Yellow card for Deputso. Song being brought down by Ogdanovsky. The penalty awarded. It happened early in the extra time period, I should say. Queensland then had to press for another equaliser, which is what opened up the field, and then that stunning third goal from Tarek Elrich. How exciting in execution that was. Despite the controversial nature of the equaliser for Queensland, on balance they were definitely on par with Newcastle. Chances created.
Lynch. The less said about that cross, the better. I was being reminded of it by those Newcastle fans. They're going to drink the town dry tonight.
If they're old enough.
And they'll be there again in a week's time at the SFS. And some of them will be into the travel agents this week as well to price a few tickets to Asia. Of course, the AFC Champions League for 2008 gets underway in a couple of weeks. Melbourne victory in Adelaide United involved this year. Neither will be involved in 2009. Tiara, mistake. Bridge tries to chip the keeper. Docker.
Joel Griffiths either with a knock or a twinge in that left upper hamstring region. That'll be a concern for game at Egmont, unless it's just cramp.
Minicon, good challenge from Song. Elrich pumps it forward. Missed by Ognenovski.
Oh,
another penalty. The third of the game.
Oh, good. How can you turn your back on this game? Again, it was a promising situation, nothing more that was shaping up for Queensland. They're down a man, remember. Somehow they fashioned a chance, and Tarek Elrich, who's been pretty wasteful with his last couple of efforts. And it's to the spot go Queensland again.
Reinaldo, same way, same result.
I don't know.
3-2.
Are you making this?
Surely not. Surely not. Have I made the fatal mistake of writing off one team here?
Well, if Queensland do make the grand final, which has just become a remote possibility, they'll have to do it without Craig Moore and Ognenovski. The Newcastle with an extra man still kicking the ball away. Can't believe I'm seeing it. Michalik then. Tarek Elrich on 2 occasions before then. Reinaldo winning the throw.
Packer looking for Ognenovski. He got the last touch.
Game at Egmont is like a cat on a hot tin roof. Not that he'd be a coach. Twice he thinks he's been home. Surely not from here.
Seconds to go, 1 minute of extra time. That's cruel from the match officials who had to add an extra 60 seconds at this stage. Bridge. Mark Bridge. Still going, Bridge. Minicon. They have to get it forward now, Queensland. North's header. Durante. Here's Liam Reddy. He's got to pump it forward and hope that someone gets on the end of it. Bridge. Song and Denny. It's 2 against 1. The Brazilian, Denny Rocha dos Santos. Save from Reddy. Free kick, Newcastle. That's as good as a goal. And Joel Griffiths and Ognenovski continue their close relationship.
Well, Sach Ognenovski tipped that in the press in the lead up to this game. It's only taken 121 minutes to boil over.
Well, 1 year ago it was pain. Now it's all pleasure. pleasure for Newcastle. It's history in the making. It's going to be an F3 derby in the grand final. The Jets shading an epic preliminary final decided after 120 incredible minutes. Queensland Roar valiant in defeat. The final score at Energy Australia, Newcastle Jets 3, Queensland Roar 2. Well, the pictures tell the story, don't they? The minor semi-final in Season 1, the preliminary final in Season 2. It's going to be the grand final in Season 3 for Newcastle. What a match. What a contribution from Queensland Roar. 3 penalties, 2 for the visitors, 1 for the Jets. Tarek Elrich chose the perfect time to score the first goal of his Hyundai A-League career. And every single player involved in this epic can hold his head high. Despair for Massimo Madoka. Delight, sheer delight for the Jets.
What a night of A-League football. Drama and quality and passion and controversy. Nothing controversial about the goal that separated the teams for most of the normal period of the game. Matt Thompson taking his team into the half-time break, a goal up and deep into the match. Adam Dapuzzo adjudged to have fouled Simon Lynch. Reinaldo takes us into extra time. Early into extra time, it's Ognenovski bundling into the back of Song. Peter Green awards a penalty, 2-1 Newcastle. They think they're home. And as Queensland are pushing up the field, just the best goal of the game from one of the great young players potentially in the competition. And the most clear-cut penalty was Michael Zullo, brought down by that goal scorer Tarek Elrich. 3-2 at finish, another cool piece of finishing from the spot. What a game of football, what an occasion for the A-League.
Well, take a breath, we need to. 2 of the goal scorers, Joel Griffiths and Tarek Elrich, are with Melanie McLaughlin.
Guys, it probably took a little longer than you might have liked, but you're through to your first grand final.
Yeah, you know, we played 120 minutes last weekend, and it was disappointing not to make it through the grand final then, but it feels much better now that we're through. It's a lot of pressure off us, and hopefully next week we can get another victory in 90 minutes.
You've certainly done it the hard way. How obviously invaluable the 2 goals you 2 scored.
I can't hear a thing, but I will say this crowd is unbelievable!
All right, the question was on the goals. Anyway, your goal ended up being invaluable.
Yeah, you know, every goal you score these days is valuable. They all count, especially like 3-1 up. It takes a lot of pressure off our defence, especially, and the coaching staff. But also I'd like to thank the fans for coming out today. It was all them. I wouldn't have made that run if they weren't behind me.
Now, the Mariners took you to extra time last week. Bit of revenge next week?
Yeah, definitely. You know, it was a pretty disappointing week last week, 3-0, but we're going into the game with a totally different game plan this week. We're going to start from scratch, 0-0, so it should be a good game. Looking forward to it.
Big week ahead. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Hello, Mum. Hello, Bianca. Everyone up in Queensland. Woo!
Well, I think Con Constantine might need a sedative there. He looks very emotional, the owner of the Newcastle Jets there, enjoying the moment with his coach Gary Van Egmont. Well, he's pumped in around $15 million into this club over the last 8 or 9 years, Con Constantine, and this is payday. This is payday for the passion and the investment.
Well, he's promised a championship for this city since he took over all those years ago. He's 90 minutes. Well, we shouldn't condense it to 90 minutes because extra time could happen in the grand final, but he's 1 game away from delivering on that promise. And what a night. Stu Mashalik, good to see him back. Adam Dapuzzo, it was a talking point, his inclusion, but he was very, very good. Almost turned out horribly because he conceded that penalty. Jade North, what a big week for him, his family, his extended family, the parliamentary apology to the Indigenous people, and so much to that individual. And he has led this team incredibly well this season, and another great performance. And he managed to maintain his emotion into extra time as well. It looked like bubbling over.
Well, this is a night they won't forget for a long time, the Newcastle Jets, but of course, they still have a very big job to do. The grand final next week Sydney Football Stadium. Be there. It's the Mariners against the Jets. The F3 derby. Can you believe it? Our coverage from 4 p.m. Eastern, a 1-hour pre-game show, and then all the highlights of a fantastic title decider, I'm sure. A game which has a lot to live up to when you look at the finals games we've seen so far. Was this the best of the lot? Well, it's come pretty close. An absolute epic here at the Energy Australia Stadium. In the end, the Newcastle Jets just shading a courageous Queensland Roar. They've waited a long time for this, and now they've got the biggest week of their lives coming up, the Newcastle Jets. What a game, what an outcome, what a final series. From me, Mike Cockrell, Andy Harper, Mel McLaughlin, and the team, it's goodbye for now.